Ladies and gentlemen, before we start this evening's episode, I must inform you that this episode contains some discussions which may seem offensive. They are not intended to be offensive by either myself or by my guest, but listener discretion is advised. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, then you are listening to an unsociable hour. I am Matthew Elliott White, and this show exists to introduce you to awesome people. And tonight's awesome person is Gari Henderson. Gary, thank you so much for joining me on this fine evening.
Thank you for having me, Paul. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
First things first, and possibly the most important question, what are you drinking this evening?
I am drinking, I'm getting fancy with it tonight. I had a few spare quid, so I've got a 4-pack of Stubbies, Brewdog Punk IPA. So,
you are going the distance, sir. I'm excited.
Feeling real middle class. You know, I think I might go out and buy a Volvo after this and then crash the housing market. So.
I love it already, mate. I love it already.
What about yourself? What are you drinking? Nobody ever asks the interviewer.
To be honest, a couple have, but I am drinking Glenmorangie. Single malt whiskey.
Nice. So this shit's going to get real funky in about 45 minutes, huh?
Oh, dude, absolutely. But you know what? Speaking of whiskey, you are, how can I put this? Can you give us a crash course in whiskey? So I have a friend who I work with who spoke about wanting to get into the stuff. But I feel it can be, and I think he thinks this way as well, that it can be a little bit overwhelming. And as a connoisseur, which I know you are, I feel you will have some insight.
Well, there's 3 main steps when you're considering drinking whiskey. And it's a pretty simple process. The first thing is you remove the cap. The second thing is you drink. And then the third thing is you wake up and you apologise to anybody you care about. That's basically the process. Repeat to fade. And eventually your kidneys will shut down and you don't have to do the last part anymore. It's great.
That's, you know what, that is probably the best answer to a question I've asked on this show.
Thank you kindly, sir. Thank you kindly. Honestly, I don't know if I'm a connoisseur. Like, that just makes it sound classy. I'm more of an alcoholic. Like, connoisseur of alcohol is just it's just a tramp with class. That's all it is, you know. just a nutter who owns more ties than the other nutters. That's all it is, really. I don't know. Like, start with some like pretty generic shit. Like, start with some Jack Daniels, and then just try a few bottles. Stay around the £20 mark and see what you like. See what sort of. So, for example, like Johnny Walker, which I know you love.
Oh, yes.
That's a little smokier. That's a Scotch. It's a little smokier. If you were to go for, like you say, your Glenmorangie or your Lafroigs, they're considerably more peaty, and it's really a case of what you like. It's like trying to figure out what's the best type of soda. It doesn't really matter. Drink the stuff. That's it. That's the whole thing.
What is your favourite, sir?
Burnt or smoke. And if you don't like either of them, drink beer. There you go.
Dude, that is awesome. What is your favourite? What would you personally recommend?
It depends. So, day by day, I love Johnny Walker. I love Johnny Walker Red. I think it's, for my tastes, it's the best value whiskey in that price range. And if you're going to be drinking like every day, you don't want to be drinking high-end shit because your money's going to run out, man. That stuff is crazy expensive once you get past a certain amount. But Johnny Walker, it's like £18 a bottle. It's, you know, it's affordable, and it's absolutely lovely. But I do love a Lafroig if I'm treating myself. Lafroig is basically it's like if you were to drink dirt that was tinged with Odin's piss. That's what it's like. It tastes powerful. and you take a sip and you're just going, oh shit, okay, we're in for this one, and you always wake up with one sock on. There's something magical, something truly magical about it.
Mate,
Special drink.
I love this episode already. Dude, thank you for sharing.
The beautiful thing about a private conversation like this is that, like, we don't have to worry about anybody hearing it or it being broadcast on the internet or anything like that. We can really get down to the nitty-gritty of things. You know,
exactly. I can promise you 100%.
It's not like it's going to be collected and collated forever on the internet to be used at any possible inopportune moment for either of us.
No, I promise you that this show will not be held against you in a court of law.
Or trial by social media. That concerns me.
But that said, I mean, you're very much like me. You are not a social media guy at all.
No, I can't stand it. I see its value, and it is very, very valuable, and it's incredibly. The range of possibilities with social media is incredible, but the anonymity and freedom that it offers, I think, appeals to the worst sensibilities in everybody. It's far too easy to leave snarky comments or say horrible things to people whose political opinions might not align with yours or whatever. Pardon me, sorry.
That is fine.
I just got very tired of the whole thing very quickly. So the only thing I still have is Instagram, and that's for work.
Yeah.
And I have that on my iPad and not my phone, because I would just find myself just scrolling for hours looking for a fight. And it's that sort of kind of base level, almost primal appeal that these things have, that I think it turns us into worse people, and it makes us less capable of actual reasoned discussion. Like, nobody wants to have a conversation with someone they disagree with anymore. That's an art form that's going away, and we wonder why our politics has become so divisive.
Yeah. Do you think that because
jokes, is that going to be better?
No, mate, no, trust me. We'll get back to them eventually. That's how the show works. Don't we worry at all.
We'll circle.
I think that you are 100% right in what you say. I think that we are now kind of in a society, especially on the internet, where it is kind of like people. I think the idea was, oh, it would be great to have social media so I can chat with my friends, keep in touch with my friends. But I think what it actually is it's you are on social media to argue with your friends.
Sort of, yeah. But even that is, like, done very, very strangely. So, like, the original idea was increased connectivity, increased dialogue, and bring the whole race forward in a magical way. Like the idea, the concept is astounding, absolutely astounding. But what's actually happened is that so that the social media companies, which are private, which is, fair enough, you don't want a government-run social media site, that would be bullshit. But because they're private companies, they have to compete with each other. And in order to compete with each other, what they need to do is they need to filter and feed the information to people who are going to feel good about the things that they see, which is how we have the algorithms that we have. So you don't just see the most recent post, you see the most relevant post to the sort of posts you're making. And what this does is this effectively, instead of you being connected to the whole world, you're plugged into a series of echo chambers that just reflect your own opinions back to you, which I think does a lot of harm for people's egos, and it does a lot of harm for people's reasoning abilities, because they're never exposed in any sort of reasonable capacity to the other side of the coin. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is an absolute perfect explanation, because I think the whole idea of the echo chamber, it's, when you are constantly seeing your opinion being validated, it gives you a higher sense that your opinion is right. And you were saying about how you feel like we're losing the art of argument. And I think that's true 100%, because I think the great thing about discussion, about argument, and about debate is that it increases tolerance. And I think because we are not debating, because we are not listening to both sides, we are losing tolerance for the entirety of the thing. And then you are going to essentially have a society that is just totally disconnected to everything that does not appeal to them in some way.
Absolutely. It's like everyone's plugged into their own personal TV channel and fuck all the other channels. It's crazy. It's like you were saying, people aren't listening to the other side. I would go further and say that people aren't necessarily listening at all. They already made their mind up, and they're looking for something that will affirm it and make them feel good, but that's not the same as listening. That's consumption. Or something that is going to infuriate them and make them feel righteous by attacking that person. So they're not necessarily listening at all. They're waiting for their turn to start yelling. And it's very important that nobody's talking anymore. Everybody's yelling. Like Facebook is the world's soapbox. And everybody can say whatever the fuck they want into the wind. And when that wind comes back to them, they're very, very, very rarely, because everyone has a soapbox, everyone has that ego trip of, I'm important.
Yeah.
And that destroys any opportunity for reasonable communication. It's like, it's the emperor's new clothes, but everyone's the fucking emperor.
Yeah. Mate, that is a perfect way.
Like, honestly, pubs, I think you should get a free drink if you hand your phone in at the bar. I think that would make places like pubs and restaurants far more tolerable, and it would do a lot of good for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, right, two nuns walking into a bar, right?
Dude, I agree with you. I believe, I mean, through the conversations we've had, I honestly believe that we kind of feel the same about this. But I will give you a break now, and we will return to this topic later, I am sure.
Sure, yeah.
Gary, have you listened to this show before?
I have. I didn't have much of a chance because I found out about 3 or 4 days ago that I was going to be on this.
Yes.
So I kind of went, oh, fuck, and started doing that cram revising. So I listened to your podcast with Geordie, which two things. One, it was a wonderful podcast. It was a great interview. You both were absolutely lovely. And two, I love anybody with the name Geordie. So...
Dude, firstly, thank you so much for listening to it, and thank you for the kind words. Hopefully, Jord is listening to this, and she'll appreciate that. That's awesome. So, right. Well, in that case, I am going to ask you some quick-fire questions. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Let's get this done.
Okay, Gary Henderson, what is your favourite colour?
Black.
Your favourite drink?
The wet ones.
Your favourite fast food restaurant?
Oh, it's got to be Five Guys. It's got to be Five Guys. I've gotten fancy in my old age, I can't settle for a McDonald's anymore. I'm sober.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
Your favourite comfort food?
Food.
Your favourite music album?
Oh, come on.
This is not the same question that I'm going to ask you later.
Okay. Well, of all time, my favourite album ever.
I'll tell you what I'll do, because I know that you're probably going to struggle with this more than the rest of the guests. So what I would say is, what is the album that you always put on, that you play possibly more than the most?
Oh, you see, now that's, fair enough. That would be Johnny Cash live at Folsom Prison.
Okay. Your favourite movie?
Oh, fuck off. As a child, Jurassic Park. As a moody teenager, Gladiator. Currently, anything with the Brazzers logo in the corner.
Beautiful answer. Favorite fictional place you'd like to visit?
Oh, that's a great question. These are great questions, by the way. These are really good. What's your favorite fictional place? Just while I think about mine.
Oh, my favorite fictional place.
Yeah.
I loved a Japanese drama called Beach Boys, and it was in 1997, and it was just this little. It was like this nondescript town that was kind of never. It was a fictional place, purely for the point of the TV series, but it was just like this beachside B&B, where these two people just kind of find themselves. Two people from totally different worlds, two guys who actually come together to work at this B&B, and it's just like it's just like something that does not get made anymore, you know. So it would be that place, whatever that's called.
Oh, that's fair enough, man. That's fair enough. That sounds like a great choice. To be fair, was that a live action show, or was that more of a like an anime type thing, or?
It was a live action.
Live action. I haven't seen much Japanese live action. The last one I saw was actually the Battle Royale movies, and I thought they were fucking incredible. And then I just never went back to Asian cinema for some reason.
Oh, dude, I must have about, and no joke here, I must have about 200 DVDs.
Oh shit, man! You're gonna have to put me like a set of 5 together, and next time we see each other, we'll do a trade for some books or some shit. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great to me, man.
Epic. Right, favorite fictional place. Oh God.
Would you like to come back to it?
Nah, fuck it. Let's say Jurassic Park. You know,
okay.
I like it when shit gets wild. So yeah, let's say Jurassic Park.
Brilliant.
Post power cut. Let's go. You know.
What's your favourite question you've answered so far?
Definitely that one.
What's the best way to cheer you up?
Not see it on an interview.
I will accept that as an answer.
I'll tell you what. A hot dog toasty seems like the more acceptable answer. So let's go with a hot dog toasty.
And I'm sure that's a euphemism.
Kinda like a hot dog toasty. In its own special.
Well, now I feel uncomfortable asking the next question, which is your favourite way to relax.
Oh no!
Oh.
Playing guitar and playing video games.
Brilliant. And you've already answered the next question, which is what do you most enjoy doing?
Playing guitar and video games.
If you had a theme song, what would it be?
It would probably be like the Benny Hill theme or some shit like that. Like everybody thinks they would have like a super epic, like Hans Zimmer or John Williams type theme, but nah, I'd have some bullshit. You know, there'd be a penny whistle in there somewhere. You know there would.
Yes, absolutely.
No, I'll tell you what it'd be. It would be. That would be it.
That is cool, man. What is your?
Sorry, the fucking one following me around. That's what it would be.
Like the old Laurel and Hardy sketches.
Exactly.
What's your guilty pleasure?
I feel like I'm sailing real close to the wind here, man.
Mate, you can say anything you want on this podcast.
Right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go for a nice, easy, won't get us cancelled culture answer. Backstreet's Back.
Brilliant.
And if you don't like Backstreet's Back, you're a cunt. So, you know, we don't want to be too PG.
No, of course not. Absolutely not. Here's one. If you could name your own whiskey, what would you call it?
Oh, Fat Bastard Deluxe.
Deluxe, limited edition.
Or even better, it would just be called cunt, but like with an H, and then the little affliction thing above a U. So it looks whiskey. You know?
Gary, those are
Single
absolutely...
tap. Bottled on the Isle of Bastard. There we go.
Those are wonderful answers, sir. Thank you so much for answering.
What would your whiskey be called?
Suntory, Toki. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. That's because that's what Ruin does in the Hilton.
What we were drinking. Oh, yeah, you know what? Fair enough, actually. That was like the worst morning ever.
I don't know what I'd call my whiskey. Well, it would have to be. I know you're not local, so you might not quite get this, but there's the town that I grew up in, Kirkby and Ashfield, is kind of like a local joke. It's kind of like seen as kind of like inbred.
Okay.
It's like
people actually. Is that where the bong eye comes from and the weird limp?
No, mate, that's just me.
Just the train tracks you played on as a child.
Yes, mate.
Yeah. Sorry. Please continue.
I'd call it. There's an area in Kirkby called the Folly, so I'd probably call it that. There might even be a whiskey called that.
Amazing name for a whiskey. That's such a great name for a whiskey.
No, thank you very much, sir. We'll have to make it, or we could just call it Regret.
Well, I thought Unsociable would be a great name for a whiskey. But you would have to make it like super smoky and super peaty, so nobody ever wants to drink with you. You know?
Yes.
You know, you just sit in the corner wearing a fucking pork pie hat and sunglasses indoors at night with your bottle of Unsociable, filling up some weird shaped glass that serves no purpose. It doesn't have a flat bottom; it's round at the bottom, so you've got to hold it because hipsters have no sense of logic. You know.
Mate, that is a beautiful way. That is beautiful, man.
Right, that's it. We're starting a business. Let's get into this. How much could it possibly cost to set up a fucking gigantic whiskey brewery?
Well, I mean, let's be honest, man. I mean, you would know what it's like to set up a business, and that is what I will go into next.
That's a huge. Okay, I get that you're doing a segue here, and that's wonderful. But I mean, a tattoo shop to an enormous brewery producing thousands of bottles a day. Don't ever put me in charge of that shit. That's insane. That's crazy. That's like getting a reality TV star to become president of the United States. Who the fuck would do that? What? You know?
Only a country of rejects and backwards people would do something like that. I'm glad none of them exist in this world.
No, there are nice people in America. There's one for every 500, so I've heard.
What, one nice person for every 500 arseholes? Yeah, that's right.
You know, it only gets funnier when you explain the joke. Yeah. Because we're doing so much better with a nation leader who can't even use a comb, you know. I swear to God, I think the Secretary of Defense should sneak into his room while he sleeps and shave the motherfucker. I think it's amazing. Turn up on the fucking on the daily coronavirus briefing with no eyebrows. That shit would warm my heart for decades. It would be magnificent.
I remember seeing somebody that turned around and said, "How is it Boris Johnson was inside in lockdown for 3 months and still didn't figure out how to keep his hair straight?"
I know. Like, he's the only guy on the nation whose haircut was fucked up beforehand. Like, you don't have time to figure this shit out, mate. You're in your 50s. Like,
I know. He is still...
Russia's difficult. They're not difficult.
he is...
fucking sticks on a twig. That's all it is. And it makes you not look homeless. Like, does he have any idea how jarring it is to have like a dude in a £3,000 suit and that hairdo? Imagine that the other way around. imagine if he turned up with tracky bottoms with hot rock holes all the way down them, and like old knackered Nike Air Max with holes in the bottoms, and a perfect fucking sideboarding. That's how weird he is. Like, what's he doing? Looking like an upper class smack addict. Like
this is my 10th episode, okay, and it might be the first one where I have to put the headset and walk away so that I can wipe my eyes with tears, okay, because I'm laughing that much, man. My God.
Well, by the end of this episode, I can guarantee, hey, you made it to 10. You know, we gave it the old college try and went out with a bang.
The old college try. How much do you reckon Boris Johnson earns?
How much does he earn?
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, I don't know. How much does a prime minister get paid? It's got to be more than £6 an hour, surely.
Well, I suppose it depends on his IQ.
It depends on his IQ.
Yeah. But.
Oh, you're going to have to explain that one to me. We had a long enough awkward silence there, but you're going to have to talk me through that one.
Because I have a feeling that Boris Johnson would not. I don't think he would be able to say exactly how much he earns, because I don't think he'd be able to count that high.
Ah, yeah, there's only so many fingers and toes. But then again, I mean, he looks like he's probably got a lot of fucking toes, you know? He's probably got his legs, if we're being honest. So, makes him a great swimmer, you know? He's really good in ponds. Maybe that's what we should do. We should just hold the economy underwater and he can fix it properly, the fucker. Anyway, we're definitely going to get murdered for treason. You know that, right?
Oh.
Like, it'll not be too long before, you know, the news is saying that we had an island where we flew presidents out and we hanged ourselves at our prison cells, all that sort of carry on. Then our girlfriends will get fucking arrested. That'll be a whole thing.
Mate, we are so far off course that I'm quite literally going to have to do what you said I did and go, yeah. Anyway, back to the road.
What was the question?
There was none. I was trying to segue to it.
Didn't reach the question. Fuck's sake.
And now...
Oh my God. This interview is going to thank us both, good sir. It really is.
Mate, I absolutely love it. And the great thing about this podcast is I don't even edit it, to be fair. It is going out, man, as is. And I promise you this one will as well.
Oh,
right.
Fun. That's what I like to hear.
Okay, so, Gary.
Yes.
You and your wonderful wife are the owners of Masamune Tattoos, a Newcastle-based tattoo shop located in Wickham, is that right?
No, that's not correct at all.
No? Where is it?
It's perfect, mate. I was just fucking with you.
I know, I'm joking.
Oh, you dick, you turned it around.
I want to ask you, dude, where did your passion for tattoos begin?
When I started getting paid for them, that was pretty fucking cool. No, yeah. Honestly, it's, you know what, I've actually really thought about this, and it's a little weird. Like, and I know you're sitting there thinking there's a fucking punchline coming here, and I don't know what he's going to say, and I'm really worried. But there isn't one. I've been a very creative person, not necessarily good at it, but I've been creative since I was very, very young. I was always drawing in school, and then I got into graffiti as a teenager, and that was fucking fun when the police turned up at the door. Whoo! Mother didn't talk to me for 3 days. Oh, that was a bad time. It was even worse when she started talking because that bollocking had been building up, you know. But then, I got into music from there, and I abandoned. This sounds pretentious as shit, okay? But just remember, I'm sitting here with holes in my socks, so it can't be that pretentious. I abandoned visual art for a while I was doing the whole, like, rock and roll thing. And eventually I just kind of came back around to it, and I didn't really have much interest in graffiti anymore because I was sick of running away from people. I mean, you've seen the shape I am. By the time you start filling out like that, you can't fucking run from anything, you know? So I decided I was going to try and be a tattooist, because how hard could it possibly be to do it on TV? And then 2 years of failed interviews and awful portfolios and people saying, go fuck yourself, don't even open the folder. About 2 years of that later, eventually, a gentleman by the name of Martin Cooley gave me a chance, and I was ready to give up on all of this shit. I was just going to be a guy who worked in a shop and made enough money to get by. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. At the end of the day, I do firmly believe that every single, what we would call level of society, which is a bit of a misnomer, every single level of society is required for society to keep moving forward, and therefore all jobs are completely equal in terms of their value to civilization. But that's fucking completely off the boil. He was the guy that gave me the chance, basically, and I got sacked from his place several times, and I just kept turning up. And eventually he was like, yeah, cool, just fucking, do you want a tattoo machine? And I was like, aye, all right then. And then I absolutely fell in love with it. I still remember the first tattoo I did sort of professionally, and by sort of professionally, I mean it was my interview for the apprenticeship at his studio, and it was a tattoo on my friend Ian on his leg, and it was an anarchy symbol with a spider web with the words punk as fuck written around it, which was a song title from the band that we were both in at the time that now we are not. So it aged real well. But yeah, I remember just really loving the process of it, and that's sort of that's the thing that really gets me, is the process. I love learning how things stitch together, how things work, what techniques work, what techniques don't, how the techniques that don't work could be applied to other avenues where they might, and stuff like that. I'm quite technically inquisitive. I'm not particularly imaginative. I don't come up with grand concepts and crazy ideas and shit like that. But I love to just throw shit together. What if we had a hawk flying through a human skull with dynamite penises in its eyes? And you just gotta go, how do we make that work? Okay, let's start with the penises. Where do the wicks go? You know? Where do the wicks go? Right, are the wings going to be breaking through the skull? Or are they going to be wrapping around it? Or does it not have wings? Is it a wingless hawk? Which is more of a dart with a beak?
I feel like if anybody could come up with that design, it would be you.
I'll send you it, mate. I'll get it framed. But yeah, it was a weird process. It wasn't everyone who's in a job that seems cool or whatever, everyone assumes that they had this morning where they woke up and they were like, I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my goddamn life. And that never happened. I just thought this thing was cool as fuck. And I thought all the punks that I hung out with looked cool as fuck. And then I thought, oh, I'll try this because it's cool as fuck. And then I realised it was difficult as fuck. And that it was going to be a long and unpleasant road to cool as fuck. A road I'm still on, which seems to be increasingly getting further away. So,
jeez, man. Well, thank you for answering that. So your passion for art, or your passion for kind of design and drawing, came before the passion for tattoos. You said that you were sacked 7 times.
No, several times. Several times.
Oh, several times. Okay.
I can't count past 4. That's why I draw for it.
Dude,
I do pictures
awesome.
It's fucking difficult, you know.
Dude, that is awesome. And you guys opened up Masamune Tattoos in January 2018.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Oh, check you out. You've been fucking Googling.
Yeah, I've done the research. What?
Dude.
What are the events?
Interviewed off Jeremy Paxman here. This is cool as shit.
No, I promise you, he is more drunk than I am. But that might change.
Rubbery horse face of incredulity that he was.
So you opened the shop in January 2018. What are the events that led up to that decision? What made you go from working for somebody to finally deciding to work for yourself?
We got sacked.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's a bit more complicated. But I just love that. It's such a great punchline, you know. Well, it was that or homelessness and prostitution. No, basically what happened was our former boss, who's still a very good friend, by the way, he's a lovely geezer, and he'll resent me for saying that. Anyone with no survivors tattooed on their neck doesn't want to be called a nice bloke, you know. But anyway, he's a proper gentleman, and we've still remained good friends. We're still in fairly constant contact, all of that sort of stuff. But he owns another tattoo studio. I'm not really sure where the ethics lies on naming things, so I'm going to leave all of that stuff out. But basically, there were a couple of people who left at very, very short notice, and it wasn't a particularly clean breakup, I guess you'd call it. Things were kind of messy and kind of overnight as well, which, understandably, him being a business owner, put him on the back foot a little bit.
Yeah.
Pardon me, I'm sorry. The brew dog is it's coming back to haunt me. It's trying to make me not tell this story. So anyway, you know, I went into work one day and basically, we had a message. It went to everybody, just saying, obviously, I'm figuring out what the long-term plans are for this business, and I need to know who's planning on staying and who's planning on going. Now, Kaylee and I, my beautiful wife Kaylee, she and I had been sort of discussing on and off the idea of maybe setting up our own small private studio. Now, bear in mind, we're both like 8 years into our careers at this point, and we've both been at this place for quite some time. And we said we owe it to this guy to be honest with him. You know, he's done a hell of a lot for us. We owe it to be honest. So we just said, like, look, here's the deal. We're thinking of getting our own place, but nothing's set in stone. There is no money down. We haven't even looked at a place or anything like that. We're probably looking at something like this happening in the next couple of years. And he turns around, and to his credit, he's absolutely right here, by the way. He said, I know for a fact that you'll never do it if you don't get pushed out of here. And we'll just sit on the idea, and you'll resent the fact that you didn't do it, and you'll resent me for the fact that you didn't do it as well. So I'm going to give you until Christmas. This shit was in the October, right? So Jesus. All of a sudden, like, oh, fuck, we've got 3 months to find a business, set up a business, paint the business, turn it into another type of business, set up all of the equipment in the business, buy the equipment, then set up all the equipment for the business, transfer all of the appointments over from one business to the other. But this is going to be fun over Christmas.
Jesus, man.
We did it. It was crazy as shit. And honestly, looking back, I wouldn't have done it any other way, because it was the kick up the arse we really needed. You know, I think we would have still been at the other shop, and we would have hated the fact that we were at the other shop, having had these dreams and allowed them to float away. So yeah, it's a real favour. But, and I remind him of this every single time we meet up for a coffee, he fucking sacked us. You know. So that was the whole thing, and it got real tight as well. Like I might as well tell the whole story. So it was super, super tight. So we were due to open on January the 2nd, 2018, and we had the first client booked in for 11 a.m. I was still at the studio at like 11 o'clock at night on New Year's Day right? On January 1st, putting the last touches of paint, hanging pictures, and just getting all of the stations correct. Like, it was right down to the wire. We went down early the morning of the 2nd. We did a deep clean. The health and hygiene people came in at, I believe it was about 9:30, if I remember correctly.
Jesus, man.
They came in at 9:30. They left at about, it was about 10:45 they left. And the first client turned up at 10:50 for their 11 a.m. appointment while we were still holding our new licenses. So we literally made it by 5 fucking minutes to be able to open. And I don't ever want to do that part of it again, because that shit sucked. Imagine a 3-hour heart attack. That's what we had.
Dude, that is an amazing story, though. Like, just with how... I can't imagine it was amazing to live at the time, but just being able to kind of recount that. You know,
it was amazing. Like, Kaylee and I just kind of sat there afterwards, like, holy fuck, we survived. We didn't just survive, but we did it. Like, we're not going to go homeless. All of this was worth it. And we still feel like that, man. It didn't feel too different to that opening up after the pandemic, to be honest. It was the same sort of thing, like, holy shit, we made it. You know, we're still here. The business still exists.
Yeah.
So,
wow, man. So I would imagine, I mean, I could be wrong, and please, obviously, tell me if I am, but I imagine, being the gentleman, the absolute gentleman that you are, you allowed your wife to name the shop. which is why it is called Masamune Tattoos. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that's what it is. And if so, to the listeners who would not know.
We were going back and forth on the shop name, and I wanted her to come up with the name, but it's surprisingly difficult to name a tattoo shop somewhere in between corny and nothing to do with tattooing.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, I don't know what happened. I think I just saw a Final Fantasy post on Instagram or some shit. And I just thought, Masamune would be a great fucking name. You know, like, obviously there's a lot of Japanese influence in tattooing. Like, Jesus Christ, the Japanese tattoo scene is incredible. It's probably the oldest of the scenes that is still relevant today. And it's something I personally love. Like, I have a traditional Japanese Final Fantasy sleeve, and Kaylee has a realistic Final Fantasy sleeve. So obviously it was going to be something to do with that. And I'm sure everyone who listens to this is like, oh, Final fucking Fantasy again? Really? But, you know, that's how all motherfuckers deal with it. And yeah, I thought, Masamune is fucking amazing. So I said to her, like, I sat her down, I said, I think I've got the name. What do you think of this? And she was like instantly just like, yes, that's exactly what this needs to be. And I think anything else we might have called it, we would have gone back and forth on it for years. But that was just, it was like a bolt from the sky. It was like, that's fucking perfect. It couldn't be better. So, yeah.
It is definitely an awesome name, because even for somebody like myself who is not that bothered in Final Fantasy, it is kind of like, it stands out. Yeah, it stands out. And it also is very distinctive. You know, there aren't going to be many other... I mean, I'm sure there are, but there aren't going to be that many tattoo shops in this country, tattoo studios in this country that have, like, a name like that. You know, it tends to be kind of like the more industrial named, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sink the ink.
sink the ink.
Buzzing needles tattoo and all that. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with those, but we wanted something a little more pretentious. So
I think it's a great name, bud. And
thank you. We're very, very happy with it, to be fair. We are happy with it. And the fun thought, let's try that shit again. The fun part is, one of my ideas was, as soon as I had the money, I was going to buy a replica of Sephiroth's sword, and I was going to hang it across the back wall. And I had that idea 2.5 years ago, and I keep just buying beer and cheeseburgers instead. And I'm starting to think we're never going to get that sword.
I think
one day we'll get it.
I think you guys are well within the right to, with the community that we're kind of involved in and stuff like that. I think there should be a collection for you guys to get yourself one.
Mate, our daily rate. Don't fucking give us money. Don't be charitable. We're wasteful people. We're terrible at that shit, right? There is no good excuse for me not to have a couple of £100 for a sword. Okay? The only excuse I have is that I spent that couple of £100 on whiskey and hot dogs and cakes, right? Like, don't give your charity to me. I don't need it. I'm just shit with money. All right?
To be fair, I didn't want to mention this at the start, but quite literally, quite recently, I watched you drink. I mean, I suppose. I mean, me and Kaylee had a few glasses with you as well, but I essentially watched you drink an entire bottle of Johnny Walker whiskey. So let's say £20. And at the start, when you were saying £20 bottle of whiskey, quite affordable, dude, I probably have people listening to this who drink Skull.
Yeah.
There are probably some people questioning whether or not a 4-pack of Carlsberg is worth £3.50.
Well, I mean, just do better with your lives, motherfuckers.
but no, do you? I know. And so am I, bud. And so am I.
The way I see it is, I just have a higher class problem than them. If it's any consolation, I can't afford my alcohol either. I can just afford a higher class of addiction,
Dude, no, that is awesome. But honestly, it's awesome to learn about kind of. I still can't believe that was the time frame because I can't imagine that's the time frame you gave yourselves. I imagine a lot of things kind of worked against you. I imagine you kind of came up with quite a few difficulties, especially with only having 3 months to deal with that. It's incredible you even got there in the first place.
Well, I mean, it creates a certain level of focus. Like, we didn't give a shit about Christmas that year. We didn't give a fuck about it. Like, I couldn't wait for Christmas to be over so I could be back in there on Boxing Day. Like, when you get a certain level of desperation, I think it's actually very healthy for hard work. You've got no excuses anymore. You've just got to just get to the fucking place and do the fucking stuff. Ignore everything else, get on with it, and make it work. And if you don't make it work, you failed. And I think, honestly, it shouldn't happen all the time, but every once in a while, you need to know that when the chips are down, you can graft and you can make it fucking work. I think everybody needs to learn that lesson. Like, convenience has become the plague of the 21st century. Like, anything we want, we can order and it turns up at the house that day or the day afterwards. It did me the world of good to just go, fuck the Christmas, fuck New Year, fuck everything. I'm going to be in here with my paintbrush, or I'm going to be building furniture, or I'm going to be hanging pictures, or I'm going to be sorting out the bathroom, or whatever it was. All of this shit was much more real. If that makes sense.
Of course.
And of course as well, like there's good and bad. There's always good and bad. And you concentrate on the good or you concentrate on the bad, depending on your own emotional level of tolerance at the time. But like, if I'd only concentrated on everything that was going wrong, we never would have succeeded. And if I'd only concentrated on everything that was going right, we never would have succeeded, because you wouldn't have taken the things that were going wrong seriously enough. But between us, we had a certain level of perspective where we're like, right, shit that's going wrong needs dealing with, and shit that's going well, that's fantastic. We can be thankful for it. And every situation has those elements. Absolutely every situation that you're ever going to find yourself in life has a balance of good shit and bad shit attached to it. And what you see and what you ignore will define you as a person.
That is fucking beautiful, man. That is inspirational, bud.
Fuck off with inspirational. It's just life.
No, man, honest. Like, so to put it into context, I have, for example, my friend Joe, who has been a guest previously on this podcast. He listens to them all, typically on his way to work, and he will always give feedback on the guests, and he gives fantastic feedback. But he kind of will take some inspiration, or he will take something from an episode, and he will kind of send that inwardly. You know, he will try to find some meaning in it. And I 100%, as I'm sure he's listening to this while he's walking to work whenever this is released, I imagine that will really have resonated with him, man. So that is a brilliant way to look at faults, because what a lot of people tend to do, and I've been guilty of this in the past as well, is when you have a problem, it is all you can focus on, even though you are trying your hardest to ignore it. It's kind of like that. It's like you say, it's like that fight or flight response. You either deal with it or you hide from it. Ultimately, if you hide from it, that problem is still going to be there. In fact, it's probably going to get worse.
Yes.
And so the best thing you can do is to just think, right, you know what? If there is ever a problem in your life, let it take priority, because you will never think clearly until that problem is resolved.
Yeah, well, what you've just described there is exactly like, it's like a definition, like a dictionary definition of procrastination through anxiety. And I've been that guy in the past. I've been that guy, and shit got so fucked up so quickly as a result of that. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. You're concentrating so much on how bad the bad thing is that you turn it into this insurmountable, impassable object that is just going to grow and grow and grow and swallow you whole. And most problems aren't that, man. They're really not. Like, the vast majority of problems that you're going to face in your life, either you can solve relatively easy and relatively quickly and probably relatively cheaply, or you can't solve them, and therefore you shouldn't worry about them as you would worry about a problem. Because an unsolvable problem is just bad luck.
Yeah, that's a great way.
Yeah, and like, awful shit does happen to people who don't deserve it all the time. Like, there's just no denying that whatsoever. And nobody deserves the horrendous things that will happen to them over the course of their life. You know, you're going to lose people that you don't think you're ever going to be able to survive losing.
Yeah.
But you will survive losing them. And everything else that happens during that time, if you keep on top of it, your life is going to be much easier while you work through the grieving process, for example. So yeah, like, when shit comes up, don't put it off. Get it done and get it out of the way. And you're going to find that weight on your shoulders gets a little bit lighter every single time you do it. Every single time. If you don't believe me, decide that you're going to do the dishes every single morning before you leave for work, right? You're not going to leave it. You're not going to let them pile up for 3 days. Every single morning, when you're ready for work, you're going to roll up your sleeves, you're going to wash your dishes, and then you're going to go to work. And when you come home on the night time, you're going to feel fucking great for the fact that everything's clean and ready to go.
Absolutely, man. That is awesome.
Thank you.
That is awesome. Thank you for that. I've spoken with guests in the past, and most notably Liam Jarvis, about the difficulties. He is awesome, isn't he?
He's an absolute darling. Proper nice bloke.
We've spoken about before about the difficulties and challenges in running your own business, especially when you have a physical property to maintain. The amount of effort and sacrifice that goes into that, running your own business. Like, what are the pros and cons when working for yourself?
That's a very big question. There's about 1 million answers, but the simplest version I would give you would be, it's better than self-employment because you own the shit. You own it, and there's a better opportunity to build something from it as well. So like Kaylee and I, we aren't self-employed anymore. We're the directors of the company, and that limited company makes profit and gives us a wage. So technically, we're just fucking employees now. But it gives us a very, very solid foundation financially to move forward from, and that's something that not enough people are told to create that. People are told that they need to get into debt and they need to buy all this shit they can't afford, and they're told not to worry about tomorrow. But the problem is, tomorrow's gonna fucking turn up. So that's one huge advantage, is that you can manipulate the business. That sounds bad. That sounds like I'm going to have the fucking tax man at the door. Like, just for the record, we're fully legit. But you can manipulate the business so that you make a little less money today, so that your opportunities are far better tomorrow. That's one of the best things about business ownership. And there's also the ego thing, like your name's above the door. But that serves no practical purpose. It's just cool as fuck. So that's really it. That's really it. I would always advise anybody who wants to set out on their own, fucking do it, man. And if you fail, you end up back at the exact same spot you're at now, except at least you tried. And if you succeed, you will never look back at that with fondness. So if you've got an idea, fucking go for it. Do it.
That's
Kill
awesome.
this shit. Be epic. Be epic. Change the fucking world. Kill them all.
Except the last bit. But funnily enough, I was about to say...
Goals, man. It depends on what your ambitions are,
Yeah. The next question was genuinely about to be, what advice would you give to anybody that is inspired by that you might consider? So, mate, you're a man of the future, mate. That is why you are a businessman. You can read down the line. I love it.
You know what? The 19-year-old in me, so I'm 33 now, the 19-year-old in me fucking hates that I can be actually described as a businessman now. The 19-year-old in me lived for the Sex Pistols and fucking hated anybody who had their life together. So I fight with that little shit every single day. Every day.
Well, just if it makes you feel better.
Down. Anarchy's for yesterday, not today. So,
if it makes you feel better, you don't wear a suit every day. You're a very different type of businessman.
I would hate to have a job where I had to wear a suit every day.
Yeah.
I hate any job that makes you wear something you're not comfortable in. If you like suits, get a job where you want to wear a suit.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you guys obviously not only are the business owners of Masamune Tattoos, but you guys also travel around the country to tattoo events as well. Is that right?
Well, occasionally, yes. We do a few a year. This is the best plug ever, by the way.
Dude.
You've said our business like 40 fucking times in the last 20 minutes. And three of those minutes, me taking a piss.
This is all for you, mate. This is your episode.
You're an absolute diamond, Paul. You're a gentleman.
Kind of travelling around doing all these events as well. I imagine that's great in terms of promotion, or at least kind of like meeting fellow artists. But I want to ask, you guys have obviously been in the tattoo business for quite a while, even if you don't think it's as long as, what you would consider that a tattoo business should be. But what would you change the most about the tattoo business?
Nothing. It's not my business to change it. I very, very strongly believe in freedom of expression, freedom of thought, freedom of speech, and freedom to run your business as you see fit. And the tattoo industry is nothing more than a collection of small businesses. That's what all industries are. So do it the way you think is right, and fuck everybody else.
That is wicked, man. That is wicked.
Thank you.
Where would you like to take Masamune Tattoos in the future?
The moon?
Beautiful.
I mean, here's the thing. We're kind of tied into a contract. We're staying in Wickham, mate. Like, we can't just load the fucker up in the back of a van, you know? Like,
hey, but how awesome would it be if you had like a burger van but with tattoos?
What's that, sorry?
Imagine if you had a burger van but with tattoos.
I would rather fuck an angry duck.
An angry duck?
An angry duck. And I'd get every scratch and bite that I deserve than do that.
Well, that suggests to me that you would act very differently around a happy duck.
Wound is burger grease and chip fat. That's exactly what you need next to open wounds. So for the business, we see ourselves expanding to a certain degree, but we don't see ourselves ever becoming like a corporate entity. Yeah. Like our industry very much prides itself on individualism, and again, it's very much a collective of small privately owned businesses. There's very, very little corporate influence in tattooing at all, and we really like that element of it. So you're never going to have a Masamune in every city or any of that shit. We've got no interest in that whatsoever. We would much rather create this thing that we love and stay at the helm and run it exactly how we see fit, as opposed to chasing every penny we can get, because it's all just money to spend at the end of the day, and we're making enough to live on anyway. So
good. I'm glad that you guys kind of are in a position where it is making you happy, and I'm glad, because I'm one of these people where, you know, every time I do something, every time I create something, I'm always second guessing. Always. Yes. I can never. I'm always second guessing. Oh well, it was great at the time. Was it not now? Did I kind of hype it up too much? But it's great to hear that.
Well, you should do that, by the way. You absolutely should second guess yourself. Like, this is the result. Like, this thought process is the result of like third and fourth, fifth, sixth guessing. So yeah, you should be doing that. That's great. That's where growth comes from. So there's nothing wrong with that, bud.
That is awesome, man. Are you legally allowed to discuss the human head you have at the shop?
What, the skull?
Yeah. Well, formerly the human head.
Took that home from a tattoo convention in a fucking carrier bag. I had a carrier bag full of human remains in the hotel lobby while I was having a pint. Like, yeah, we can discuss that. That's fine. Yeah. What do you want to ask? What's his name?
Well, do you know his name?
Yorick.
Yorick. Oh, of course. Yes, Yorick.
So the goal is, I want a collection of human skulls, and I want to have Yorick, and then everyone else has a really fucking boring name. So I want like an Alan, a Jeff, a Bill, Dave, yeah, maybe a Stephen, an Andrew. Just fucking Yorick in the middle with a crown.
Imagine kind of like living an existence and having your own life, and then 100 years later, your head being put on a plank of wood behind glass, being referred to as Dave.
That would be the best afterlife ever for me. So great, because you get to spend forever staring at people in horrific pain, having stupid pictures pointlessly etched on them for their shortened, effortless fucking lifespan. And we're all going to die, and we're going to be forgotten in a couple of generations anyway. But it seems so important at the time, you know? I imagine eternity watching that shit would be fucking hilarious. So...
That is beautiful. That is amazing, man. Fuck me. That is...
Tattoos are great fun, but they only last as long as you're alive, and that ain't that fucking long, you know?
No, dude, that is true. In the relative concept of everything, man. Yeah,
but none of this should be hanging by a Caravaggio in 1,000 years. That's not going to happen. So yeah,
But the thing is kind of like looking at it from another point of view. It's got to be amazing to you to think to yourself two things. One, not only is something that you made, something that you have done is physically going to be on somebody until they die, and even then, until their body is destroyed,
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's to be fair. I don't think they really care what happens. Like, I don't think they give a shit about what the tattoo looks like 2 weeks after they die. Like,
No, exactly. But you know what I mean. But hey, but even when they're dead, your artwork is still there. It's on the corpse until the body is destroyed.
no,
That's what I'm getting at.
yeah, it's. I mean, that's really cool. But I mean, so's that fucking mullet that they thought was a good idea.
Yeah, but they might have shaved that because they might have to have done that in the autopsy.
Well, that wasn't their decision, was it?
Well, yeah, that was some other guy made that choice.
Listen, man, the mullet is a ride or die haircut. Okay. You should go to the fucking grave, okay?
Oh man, I'm done. I've lost it. Oh man.
Right, me and you, we're growing our hair out. We're getting mullets. All right.
Ah, the mullet cast.
Yeah, man. Let's bring the redneck to England. Let's do it. Fucking me. Start wearing dungarees.
That is beautiful. I was gonna say that the second greatest thing has got to be the thought of. I know there are some people that kind of just treat a tattoo as something that, you know, like on drunken nights out and stuff. I'm sure you've had those kind of people, but I imagine as well, it's got to be amazing for you to kind of see what kind of things people want on them for their very short life, you know, because time is so limited. It's got to be kind of really interesting to think you want this on your body until you die, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I joke, I jest, but it's actually pretty fucking awesome. It is pretty fucking awesome, and it is wonderful to be trusted with this stuff as well. And one thing I really love seeing is when someone is so into like a band or a TV show or a movie or a particular actor or just some sort of person that resonates with them on like a really deep level to the point where they're willing to sit for hours getting their face engraved somewhere on their body. Like, I think that is cool as shit. I think that's really, really cool. And I think it's one thing it's kind of hard to describe to people who aren't into tattoos is that tattoos, as permanent as they are, they're like a Polaroid. They're a snapshot of a period in time. So I've got a bunch of tattoos that meant the world to me when I had them done, and they're not the things they represent are not necessarily that important to me now. But I don't regret the tattoo, even though my tastes have changed. And I think everybody who gets heavily tattooed has this experience, and none of us really talk about it. But yeah, like, we're all covered in very, very permanent etchings of very, very temporary periods of our lives. And it's kind of like just, it's almost like carrying around ex-girlfriend's photos in your wallet for the rest of it. It's cool. I really like that. And it seems awful, but it's not. There's a wonderful nostalgia in my older tattoos. That's like, oh shit, remember when I liked that band? Remember when I listened to those guys? I remember when that was the best movie ever. You know? And that's really cool. So I like to have the snapshots of time.
Yeah. No, I can 100% agree with that. I imagine it's it's amazing. Sorry?
Did I even answer that question? What was the question again?
We were talking about the head. But I liked where we were at because
okay. All right.
Because I've got to say I agree 110% in what you say. I think it's amazing to kind of that thought that they are all tattoos of kind of temporary. I mean, I want my whole body covered in all the stuff I love now, yes, or over time, because I imagine it's like a roadmap of your life. And so what, man? If you've got like a band that you loved when you were a teenager, but you don't listen to them now, it doesn't matter, because as you remember, when you look at that, you remember how great you know it's
how important you were.
Yeah. Nobody will ever have a photo album of all of their bands.
Into your body. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Imagine nursing homes in 50 years. How fucking cool are they going to be?
Oh yeah, man. Well, imagine that starting the conversation.
Say again?
Imagine that starting the conversation where it's two people sat there and one's got a tattoo of, let's say, a band on their arm, and the other person next to him's going to go, I like them as well, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, just imagine two grizzled old dudes who haven't had hair in 30 years, right? They're sitting there in their lumberjack shirts, their backs are broken, their knuckles are hairy, they're just these proper hard old blokes. And they've had, they've got kids, they've got grandkids, they've got great grandkids. They've lived a life that's long and rich and has been very brutal to them in certain circumstances as well. And they've lived with the hardships and the pain and the loss and the joy and the elation of becoming a grandfather, becoming a father, becoming a great-grandfather, welcoming these other people into the fold, this long, incredibly rich life that you and I can barely imagine because we're still at the start point, okay? Yeah. They've got all of that shit, and they're sitting there on the porch of their nursing home, looking out at the sunrise, and they're sitting there with the little Dr. Pepper or whatever, and one says to the other one, fucking hell, My Chemical Romance. How you can listen to them? How is that not a great conversation? How is that not a great moment? They're just going to be, oh, fucking hell. You remember that when we had the stupid haircuts and the skinny jeans and the white spiky belts? Oh, I remember the white spiky belts, Jenny. That's fucking magic. That's a beautiful future.
That is an amazing thing to think about. And
what I'm trying to tell you is scribble on yourself, man. Treat yourself like a fucking jotter.
Yeah.
Maybe because it'll make me rich. But other than that, there's a philosophical element.
Yeah. Only do that at Masamune Tattoos.
Yeah.
Gary, I will...
White guy laugh that I went with there. As he counts the money.
Dude, thank you for talking about that and talking about kind of the business and stuff. I will feature Masamune Tattoo's address in the show notes so that the audience can check out your shop, your work. Dude, your work along with your wife's work is absolutely fantastic. It really is, and I highly recommend the listeners to check it out.
That's very, very kind of you to say. I really appreciate that. If you are listening to this and you're interested, have a look on the website. If you don't like it, fair enough. If you do like it, cool, gives you money. We were all
give them your money.
Advertising.
Give them your money whether you like it or not.
Exactly. Either give us your money or I'll turn up at your house with a knife. I'm joking. I won't. I haven't got the time. Anyway. Okay.
Enough shop talk. Gary, you are a man of whiskey and tattoos, but also music.
You forgot the gigantic penis.
Well, okay, you are a man of whiskey, tattoos, a gigantic penis, but also music.
I want that on my tombstone.
You should cut that bit out and have it as your text tone.
Here lies Big Dick Henderson, Red Hot Chili Peppers fan.
Whale Tail Henderson.
Whale Tail Henderson. Here he comes, old baby's arm McTavish. Right.
Gary,
sorry.
when I visited you last...
This is an incredible tangential show. This is wondrous.
I love it, man. Gary, when I visited you last, we had a great time listening to music inspired by the Old West and Southern South.
We did. It was fantastic. It was a really good time, man.
What is your favourite music genre?
Oh, man, that depends on what week you ask me, dude. Like, I was listening to rock and roll last night. I was listening to country this morning. Honestly, it's entirely dependent on my mood, but my current flavour of the week is old country music. I struggle with modern... another thing is, we don't really have country music here. We have folk music, which is like country music, but made by boring, smelly people. boring, smelly English people who don't have long hair. They just haven't had a haircut. Country music was like dudes who worked on tractors and shit. And they'd get off work on the night time, and if they still had all of their fingers, they'd be like, "All right, yeah, I'm gonna sing a song about shooting my wife." And that's the fucking one for me, you know. I just love shooting people's wives. That's what this gets up to, you know.
Because I suppose it's kind of like a weird thing. Like, I mean, you know, I love country music as well.
Yes, yeah.
I feel like this kind of like stigma around country music. Sorry?
There's what around country music, sorry?
I feel like there's a little bit of stigma around country music. Like, if you're seen as enjoying country music, it's kind of like a bit, oh, all right then. You know, because it's kind of not as popular, you know.
Absolutely. You're considered a twat if you like country music, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And I sort of get that, because the genre itself, there's a lot of sub-elements to it, but it's kind of like, if you're into rock music, for example, it would be like judging all rock music by the stick with which you judge emo.
Yeah.
Where on new metal, this kind of these short-lived fads that are kind of caricatures of the overall genre. So like Johnny Cash is nothing like the bullshit that actually makes the country charts. Like, I don't listen to charting country music, and I know this makes me sound like a fucking hipster. I know it does. If that was what all country was like, I would have nothing to do with it. But you cannot deny the amazing songwriting and storytelling of the likes of like Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, the Three Hanks. If anyone is thinking of getting into country music from rock and roll, from heavy metal, Hank Williams III is your starting point. He's a bad motherfucker. He listens to suicidal tendencies. He makes old school country music, but it's all about getting fucked up and falling down and having a fight. That's your start point, and everything else will come from there. But yeah, there's so much incredible storytelling, and I'm a sucker for a good story well told. So, like, Boy Named Sue, one of the greatest songs ever.
Oh, I love that song.
Like, and that's country. That's country. Like, you can't deny it. It's so good that it transcends the genre, but it is still a part of the genre.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. And that you know, who was the guy that you were asking me about afterwards? It was Todd Snyder, the hippie dude.
Todd Snyder, dude.
Yeah, the world.
He was amazing.
Left-wing country star.
I know. Like the majority of us, like when you were showing me those videos, man, I've got to admit that evening was kind of like up there with the greats for me, because it was just, with everything that's gone off, it was just kind of like, it was one of those, it felt like it was one of those nights where everything just reset, and it was like, right, we're starting from the ground up again, you know, and
humanity.
Exactly. It was just pure humanity, man, and I loved it. And
guys, so much for coming up, by the way. It was such a pleasure to have you. It really was. Dude,
thank you so much for having us. It was amazing. So it's 100% up there.
Right, we got to do like a big barbecue or something one day.
Oh,
barbecue with a little Bluetooth speaker on the side, and just listen to country tunes and blues tunes and shit like that, and get fucked up on sausages and beef. Yeah.
Sounds perfect, man. Sounds exactly what I need in my life.
Good man. Anyway, what was the point you were making? Sorry.
Who's your favourite musician?
Oh, how are you, man? That changes week on week.
Right now.
Oh, fuck. I'm going to go with my stock answer. My stock answer is Johnny Cash, because I find someone incredible every goddamn week, and I fall head over heels in love with them. But the only one who I always... like, there's about 3 or 4 acts that I kind of always come back around to, and Cash is one of them.
Yeah.
But my favourite artist of the moment I think I showed you her actually. She's the modern girl, but she dresses all old time. She's got a little face tattoo.
Yes.
Her name was Sierra Farrell or Ferrell.
Yes, I remember we were watching the videos.
Yeah, her music is just gorgeous. Her music is absolutely beautiful. I listen to that literally every fucking morning, and I haven't gotten bored of it yet.
That is awesome.
By the way. But yeah, anyone, fucking hell. Hey, punk ideas, gassy. Christ alive. Proper professional list, like, innit? Yeah, anyway, I'll tell you who you want to fucking listen to, sunshine. Yeah, anyone who's interested in country music or bluegrass or anything like that, Sierra Farrell. The song is In Dreams, and then you're down the rabbit hole from there. She is a wonder, a true wonder.
The videos that we watched, she was absolutely brilliant. I do have to 100% agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
So now comes to the really difficult question.
More after that, because that was a weird little gap there. Like
it's because I'm building the tension.
Oh, man, hang up, you know.
I'm building the tension because now comes the really difficult question for you.
Oh, who's my favourite Spice Girl? That's Baby. That was always Baby.
Oh, well, never mind. We'll move on to the next one.
All right, how are you? Ask what you're going to ask.
What's your desert island disc?
Oh, for fuck.
Right. You don't. This is one album that gets you through the desert island. Nobody knows how long you are there. You cannot access anything. There is only one CD you can take with you. What is it?
Okay. I'm assuming that in this scenario, I also have a CD player and some electricity. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know.
All right. You're not
an animal.
So it's like a shit trowel. It's actually usable as per its original use. Yeah.
That's
the thing about desert islands. They don't tend to have a great fucking hookup for the electrics, you know.
Okay. It's a 2000 Sharp personal CD Walkman.
God damn.
You have limited. This makes it even more poignant. You have limited supply of AA batteries. Okay, This has to be a CD that when you get power, it is the highlight of your day.
Okay.
You are rubbing the two. You remember when you used to rub the batteries together, hoping you'd get like an extra 5 minutes out?
It's a remote now.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
right.
you are. You will be doing that. Okay, you will be doing that just to listen to the CD.
Okay. So the dream answer would still be live at Folsom, but the more realistic answer would absolutely be the audiobook equivalent of 1,000 Ways to Survive on a Desert Island. Because if you pack anything else, you're a fucking idiot. The music can wait until you get back. That shit's going to teach you how to build a raft. Like, if we're being real.
I don't think I've ever known anybody say something that kind of productive.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
Yeah, that is why you are a businessman.
Like, that's the thing. That's the thing. For all the romanticism we have about music, you're on a desert fucking island. There's bigger issues afoot here. You know, you're going to get eaten by fucking crabs.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Have you been to many gigs?
More than I could count, yes.
Can you remember what your favourite was?
Oh, the best big show ever would have to be Rammstein at the local arena. That shit was wild, absolutely wild. But the best show ever would be the first time I saw Rancid live. So Rancid, I found Rancid roughly the same time I found My Chemical Romance, when I was a dumb 19-year-old with a stupid fucking haircut and a very recently broken heart. And I instantly fell in love with Rancid because the album that I had bought, which was an album called Indestructible, and I'd only bought it because I had £10 spare in my pocket and the album was going for $9.99. And I liked the cover and I bought it just for that. That album had been written by the lead singer upon his wife's divorce from him. She left him for Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age.
Wow.
Who was another cool dude, by the way. I'm not that guy who's just like, fuck bitch, and he's rubbish, or anything like that. At the end of the day, shit happens. But that album's fucking incredible because there's not one song that wallows in sadness on the whole record. Like the whole record, like there's a song called Tropical London, and the chorus is, "If you lose me, girl, you lose a good thing," and it's like a proper happy song as well. And like the first song is called Indestructible. And the whole record is about how his friends are there for him and he's going to be just fucking fine. And I thought that was amazing. And they instantly became my favourite band ever. And it was about another 5 years before I got to see them live. And when I got to see them live, my life was much better. I was in a very happy relationship with the woman I would eventually marry and start a business with, who is downstairs. And, like, she is my favourite person on the fucking planet. I love her to bits. I would never say bad shit about her. I really wouldn't. Because there isn't bad shit that I would say about her that I wouldn't say to her. But in spite of all of that, I became that 19-year-old again the second they took the stage. And I was just... It was like flying. It was fucking incredible. All of these songs that meant so much to me, all of a sudden, were everything. They were the whole fucking room. And I remember walking out of there and just feeling like I wasn't even necessarily human. Like feeling like I was just a part of consciousness. And there was this huge thing, this huge wave of just fucking utter positivity. And I know I sound like a drippy hippie here, and I swear to God I'm not stoned. But that's how it felt. Like, I felt so incredible, so invincible walking out of that show, and that's never gone away. I've seen them several times since, and while they've never felt quite like that, I've always walked out feeling fucking amazing from a Rancid show.
That is amazing, man. That is awesome, and that is what I think. That is what music is meant to entice in you. It's meant to give you
exactly.
that.
It's meant to be a reflection of who you are, and it is. Like, that's the thing. It's not even that it's meant to be that. That's exactly what it is. Which is why some people like some music and not other music, because there's no reflection to them.
That is awesome.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. Like, when I listen to Johnny Cash, I listen to the same shit that I listen to in Rancid, which is a bunch of fucked up dudes trying to figure out the world, who are a little angrier than they should be, and they're trying to figure out how to be a better person and be better for the people around them who are good for them. That's the whole fucking thing. The music you like absolutely is a fucking... Like, if it's the best mirror image of you as a person that you're ever going to find. If you want to know yourself as a person, look at the music you listen to and really think about it.
That is a wonderful and very deep reflection on that, man. That is awesome. Thank you for that.
That's now, all right. You're starting to get a bit pissed.
You are a man of many talents. You're also quite the musician yourself.
Nah.
You play guitar and you're actually a great singer. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to perform on the show, but you have great talent.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I would respectfully disagree, but that's very nice of you. You forget I was shittiest when I did that, and so were you. I trust your judgment. You're no critic.
I'm not backing that.
You're too nice.
Nah.
Text for people, please.
Text for people, please. Yeah, man, definitely. Dude, we have had some great times together. Like the time we first met, where we drank the Glasgow Hilton Dry of Japanese whiskey. Remember that night?
Do I remember? Well, actually, no, I don't remember how it was that night. I remember the next day thinking you were a dick.
Which you would have
And
been
then
right.
the second time we did it.
Oh, what, the Hilton?
Yeah.
Do you want to...
Oh, God. That
Feel free.
got stuffed up so quick. You know what was crazy about that night, right?
What?
I went for a piss and everything was lovely. Everything was so delightful, right? Everything was really relaxed. Everyone was having a good time. Everyone was keeping their voices down. There was some piano shit playing through the speakers. I had a piss. I couldn't have been gone a minute, right? Because I'm a quick pisser, right?
Yep.
I came back out. I'd barely got the zip up on the front of my trousers, and you are staring down the barrel of the gun. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? And you and this traveller fella, and I've got no context, by the way, for the record, no context on this whatsoever, but you guys are nose to fucking nose, and the bar staff look terrified. And I instantly went into survival mode, and I just started moving glasses and bottles away from the pair of you. Like, that was my job. I wasn't even going to try and calm the shit down, because, like, the way it was going, I was like, this is going to go. No matter what I'm going to say, this is going to go, and we're going to get a kicking. Let's just get anything breakable out the fucking vicinity, so it's not that bad, so we don't have to spend our evening picking shit out of our faces and getting them stitched up. Talk me through that, Matt. Tell me how that came about.
I can't even remember what time it would have been. So to give it kind of like some context, it was a Friday night. We were at the Hilton in Glasgow. We were at the bar. I forget what the bar's called. But
just the bar at the Glasgow Hilton.
Just the bar at the Glasgow Hilton.
You've got reception to the left, bar to the right. Like it does have a name, to be fair, it does have a name, but nobody gives a fuck. So,
no. And there was this Irish guy that was kind of like, I didn't know we were a traveller at first. And he were kind of like, bless him. I kind of ruined his. Well, I didn't ruin his night, but I was definitely the one who kind of started it, because he was just singing. He was quite happy, but he was singing. I remember thinking, it's like fucking 1 a.m, mate. You know what I mean? I don't know why it bothered me that much, because we were probably being loud. And,
on the record, I heard the singing while I was taking a piss, and I thought, isn't that nice? I thought, oh, great, the party's started. Little did I fucking know.
Well, I think the alcohol had affected me and you in different ways. And,
you think?
And so I shouted, "Shut up!" at him, and I thought I was being quite pleasant, to be fair, which is ironic, really. I remember just popping my head to the side and going, "Fucking shut up, will you? It's 1 a.m." And I went back to the bar. I didn't think what else of it, and he kind of comes round, and he's pleading his case, I suppose. He's kind of like just kicking off, and don't you fucking tell me this, that, and the other. And it's funny, really, because I mean, the next day we spoke and we dealt with it, kind of thing. But at the time, I just remember thinking, he just struck me as, I mean, I'd probably upset him. It was me. I was the one in the wrong. But he came in and he struck me as the kind of guy that hadn't been told to shut up many times. Do you know what I mean? I think that he thought he was bigger than he was. And
okay, that's fair enough.
And I think when he started, I was in the wrong. He could have just come over and just said, "That we're out of order, pal." Do you know what I mean? That was rude. Don't do that. You know what I mean? There would have been a way of dealing with it, but he came over and he wanted to fight.
Yeah.
And I was fine with that, because I'd have been quite happy to fight with him as well.
And because, of course, as we all know, travellers are famous for not being good in battle.
Hey mate, he had every opportunity.
Kicking people's teeth out of their fucking heads. That's never happened ever.
He had every opportunity, and he didn't. I don't even know how that ended. Because I just remember him saying. I remember him saying something, and I think I remember just saying, "Pal, I don't give a fuck about you." You know what I mean? Just throw the punch, mate. Go on, do it. You know what I mean? And then next thing I know, the police were called, and then it were over. We got to continue drinking, but he was dragged out.
Yeah. So I mean, the staff got involved, and the staff didn't really know what to do. Bless them, because it was the fucking Hilton, right?
I know. We started a potential fight in the best hotel in Glasgow.
Yeah. Like, even the Hilton in Glasgow doesn't know how to deal with this shit, right? But yeah, like obviously the staff kind of got involved, and I said a few bits, you said a few bits, all of that, and we all just try to kind of go, look, everyone said some shit that's not over smart here. Let's just walk away from each other for now. And then security came through, and they kind of walked him away towards the front door area.
Which I'll be honest, I think that was bang out of order. One, the police shouldn't have been called in the first place. The police shouldn't have been called unless physical fighting broke out. But the second was... I
mean, you were 2 seconds from that. Like, at that point, it's okay to press the fucking call button. Like,
well, I can't...
Dude, you were right there. Like, your noses were literally touching. Okay? Technically, you swapped bodily fluids, okay?
During COVID. But...
no, pre-COVID, it's alright, it's pre-COVID.
But, do you know what the mental thing is? That was Valentine's Day.
Shit, it was, yeah.
But...
to be fair, and I've been a dumb fuck in my time. Like, I've done crazy shit, and I've took a kicking for it. And, you know, fair enough, we all do. Especially when we're full up on fucking whiskey. I think there was bad decisions made on both sides that evening.
Oh yeah.
You didn't need to be the way you were.
No.
And he didn't need to react the way he did. But to the hotel's credit, they didn't get kicked out. We didn't get. Pardon me, sorry. Nobody got kicked out. The police actually did do a very, very good job of calming things down. I actually approached the police as well with the traveller fella, and I did say, look, I'm not being funny here. I'm not sticking my nose in any business where it doesn't belong or anything like that. But for the record, I'm friends with the guy at the bar. He did start this. He did this off, which you did.
I did, yeah. Dude,
yeah.
I
like, anything that happens from here, that needs to be taken into account. And the police kind of fucked me off, you know. They're just like, oh, get yourself away. But it was a very decent thing that went very badly, very, very quickly.
It did. And I mean, I remember. The thing is, I remember even being pissed off at the time because I thought, I mean, I knew I'd started it, but
yeah,
he was treated very different from me. And it's something that even he pointed out. He said, why is it we were both nose to nose, we were both ready to go. He said, why was it me that was walked away? This is the next day. So for the listeners, what happened was that kind of ended everything that night. And then the following day, I see the guy in the hotel foyer, and I go up and I apologise. I go up and I just say, look, mate, I am so sorry. I said, I don't know what came over me last night, and I feel awful out because I did. I felt kind of really...
Did the right thing, because you walked up to him and he could have sparked you out there and there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Walked up to him, you know. So fair play to you.
Yeah, but I mean, he said, mate, you know what? He said, we were both drunk, this, that, and the other, and he accepted my apology. He apologised too. We shook hands, and that was it. It was over. But I remember he said, you know what pissed? He said, what pissed me off the most is, he said, we were both in the wrong, but I was the only one that was taken outside. And I said to him, I said, mate, I felt the same way. I felt like, you know, it were kind of... Now, I don't know whether or not he'd done something like it before. I don't... But in that... It was sad because kind of like in that moment, it was like, I knew I was the one in the wrong there.
Yeah.
And so we did.
But it feel like his accent was the thing that got him in the car park.
That's what he felt, and we. He did say to me. He said, "Would you mind just coming to the front desk with me, and just kind of explaining what went down?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." So we spoke to the manager, and he kind of said, "I felt like I was, he said." He said, I felt like I was discriminated because of the Irish accent and because he was quite a loud guy, quite brash, and I agreed with him 110% because I thought the thing is, they didn't take me outside, even though, such as yourself, and probably even the bar staff would have turned around and said, well, actually, it started when he told him to shut up.
Yeah. Well, that's why you buy a round of drinks for the bar staff. Yes,
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't regret at all, but I do definitely regret the encounter. But I'm glad that we were able to end things amicably, and I will definitely not be doing that again because that'll be the second time I've messed up at the Hilton at Glasgow.
I appreciate that, mate, because that was a long fucking day and a weird fucking ending,
It was, man, it was. But thank you for sticking with me through that.
Oh, that's quite all right, man. That's quite. To be fair, we drank for another fucking 2 hours after that.
We did, and there are. I'm quite
from that, by the way. That's like the last thing I remember is apologising to the bar staff and like fucking taking your card off you and going, right, what do you all drink? Because we were already shit at that point, And they're like, oh, we can't take drinks. I'm like, right, well, fucking how many of yous are on staff tonight? Right, let's do the maths. And then just like putting the tip onto your fucking bar tab and shit. And then after that, it's blank right up until the moment where Kaylee woke me up with a plate of sausages and waffles saying, I think you're going to need these. Give me a call when you feel human. You
are one lucky man.
She's a wonder. She's a true wonder.
I will say, so oddly enough, I can remember what happened after. So we bought the drinks as a thank you to everybody behind the bar. And they essentially closed the bar, and they said, "But if you want, you can sit in the foyer." So there was me, you, and 2 others who were sat in the hotel foyer until about 4:30.
Oh shit!
Do you remember?
Sort of, yeah. Like I'm getting snapshots,
I'm remembering that we definitely. I think the bar staff did allow us like a few bottles of beer and stuff to take because I remember we were still drinking right up until the point where we weren't.
That's right. Yeah, no, like because last orders we got like 3 or 4 bottles each.
Yes,
didn't we? And we just sat in the foyer just getting fucked up until stupid o'clock in the morning. That was good times, man.
And
crazy times would be a better word. Yeah.
Wild times. So the
gamut of times.
So looking back, I'm just thinking. So the first night we met, we drank the Hilton Dry of the Japanese whiskey, which was Suntory Toki. I ran up a bar bill.
Fight that night, actually.
What's that? Sorry.
I tried to start a fight that night, actually.
Oh, with Alex.
Yeah, I took a dislike to the guy who was organising the entire convention for no good reason, took a swing at him, missed, fell on the floor and got dragged up to the room.
Yep. I do remember.
I apologise profusely to him the next day, by the way. Profusely.
So, well, that's good, because now I feel like we've both done things we regret at the Glasgow.
Yeah, what your viewers are hearing from this is a pair of fucking idiots.
I promise you this, though. Both of our wives, my and Gary's wives, understand that the Friday night is ours.
Yes!
Friday night is ours, Saturday night is theirs.
Well, our deal is actually a little different. Our deal, London, Kaylee gets fucked up, and Glasgow, I do.
Oh, wow.
That's the system. So yeah, like every Glasgow Hilton, like they're gonna roll their fucking eyes when I walk through the door. But every London show, it's just like, right, I'm the babysitter for the weekend. I'll just make sure she gets there, sleeps on her side, all of that sort of shit, and that's all well and good.
That makes that that makes absolute sense, because I remember the second time when we were in London, and I remember the wildness came from when we were drunkenly walking Ryan home back to the hotel.
Well, we weren't even crazy drunk. That was the mad thing. We were just we were at that pleasant sort of 6 pints level, weren't we?
Do you remember being?
Sorry.
Do you remember being drunk enough that we were urinating all over the bus stops?
That wasn't a bus stop, mate. That was no. You pissed behind the bus stop, and the gap between the bus stop was about a foot. And so I just didn't bother. I just held it in. But then I found some plant pots that were facing the road, and I took a piss into the plant pots that were facing the road, hoping that the plants that were sprouting out of the plant pots were enough camouflage for me to not get arrested. And they were. That was a good call. And then we got back to the hotel, and my wife was on the floor trying to make out with her female best friend. And I believe your wife was just kind of sitting there going, I don't know what happened.
The night took a turn.
Crazy, real fast.
Well, if anybody could understand how those things can happen, it would be me and you.
Yeah.
All it takes is a piss, and things hit the wall.
Just immediately into, okay, come on. Let's get you up.
My God. Oh. So the first time we met, you started the fight. The second time, we were drunk and disorderly to a degree, but still somewhat sober. The third time, I started the fight.
Yes.
The fourth time, I was holding a human head at your place during lockdown while we were drinking whiskey and listening to country music.
Yes. Shit, have you won 4 times?
4 times, sir.
Really?
Yep. Not even half of 10.
Jesus Christ. Usually I have like 10 meetings with someone before I'm fucking bored of them, you know?
Well, I'm glad I hit that right off after the second.
Yeah, fair enough.
The point is, man, I always have a great time when you're around. You're a great guy, you really are. So I got to thinking.
Same to you.
So I got to thinking, if these 4 nights were wild, I bet you've had many a wild night, sir. What is your wildest night?
I cannot tell you.
Okay, for legal reasons.
There's some real incriminating shit out there.
That is fine. What is a great night that you can remember that you can tell us?
Man, I don't even know. Like, I've got to. So Newcastle's a party town, which means that pretty much the rule when you're growing up is Thursday through Sunday you don't sober up. So there's some crazy shit that's happening out there. I'll tell you the one that's not illegal, but dicey. Fair enough?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we had a gig at a little local pub, and then from there the plan was to go out, and the venue was going to hold the equipment until the next day when we picked it up. So we decided we were going to do fancy dress, because we always liked to do crazy dressing up gigs. Like we did. We were a punk band, so we did a gig dressed up as 5 Jokers. We did another one dressed up as Commandos, and our opening theme music was the theme music from Predator, which we straight up stole, and so on and so forth. We were like it was like theatre punk, but for broke people. Okay.
Okay.
And one of them, we decided we were going to do porn stars. So we thought about the stereotype of a porn star. And we thought, okay, we need to have the crazy Terry Mack wig, you know, the black perm.
Yeah.
You've got to have that. You've got to have the tight builder's jeans. You've got to have a ridiculously oversized, tasteless short sleeve shirt. If you can find something inflatable to stuff down the front of your trousers, all for the better. And you've got to have like this awful orange tan, right? Because all porn stars have a dreadful tan, okay? So we got this tan stuff, and we turned up in full shebang, but one of us, I can't remember who, had brought the fake tan in a bottle. So we all squeezed it on our arms, and we rubbed it into our arms, and we rubbed it into our faces, and all of that sort of stuff. But we didn't read the instructions. Now, this is where it gets dicey. We didn't know how to use. And again, like, if anyone's offended by this, I am so fucking sorry. Like, this is one of the bad things. So all 5 of us accidentally blacked up. Okay? Straight up by accident. Because it takes a moment to sink in, obviously, right? So we all put the shit on, looked in the mirror, and went, haha, that's a bit of a tan, that's quite funny. We went on stage. By the time we came off the stage, we were Al Jolson. It was like really, really bad, okay? Like cancelable bad, okay?
Oh, wow.
But because we were all like 20 and fucking idiots, and I'm sure the lads will agree with me that we were fucking idiots back then. Because we were stupid, we did the show, we hung around, we answered the inevitable awkward questions, and that was all well good. And then we all decided that it was still a good idea to hold to the original idea of going for a night on the town. In the full game. So we went into town, we did a bar crawl in blackface, which is like it is the dumbest shit I have ever done in my fucking life. And I've done some dumb shit, but that one was like, again, not illegal, but not one of us had the good sense to go, lads, let's just go home and take a bath. You know?
Wow.
We very nearly got into a fight in every single bar we went to. And it was about 5 bars in that we all decided we're just going to go to our regular place, which I'm not going to name. We're going to go to our regular place, and hopefully they're going to be kind of understanding of the situation. Which they were. They were very understanding. We walked in, and they went, what the fuck is that? And I went, I'm going to be real with you.
It wasn't meant to look like this.
I said, this wasn't planned. We didn't think it would go this dark. Can we just get a beer and sit in the corner? And they went, sit in the fucking corner. We'll bring your beer to you. So we stayed in a dark corner in full blackface, just like, how the fuck are we getting home? And the craziest part is that what's the most sensible thing you could possibly do when it's time to leave?
Get up quietly, leave without incident.
Get up quietly, leave without incident, call a taxi beforehand.
Oh, no.
All 5 of us went to separate bus stations and took us home. Not one of us got beaten up. Somehow, we deserved to. We absolutely deserved to get kicked in. But yeah, we all made it home safe somehow. And I will never understand how we survived that night. But a tip for anybody who's ever using fake tan, read the instructions. Love of Christ. There's never been a more embarrassing piece of stupidity than accidental blackface. Like, being racist without ever attempting to be racist, with no intention of any racism and no racist internal monologue. It just kind of happened because we were that fucking stupid.
Dude, that is, yeah, absolutely, man. I mean,
first one I can tell you.
My God, man, that is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. This will probably be the first episode where I'm going to have to put a disclaimer at the start.
Yeah, you might have to, man. If it's any consolation, if I ever do anything of worth in this life, that is definitely going to be the thing that fucks up my career.
Oh my God, that's that'll be your the photo from like 10 years ago that's brought up.
Yeah, that'll be the shit that Kevin Hart's me, you know?
Yeah, just draws it from the past, man. Yeah. My God, dude.
Oh, not really. No, come to your own conclusions, guys.
But dude, thank you for sharing that story.
So yeah, just cancel me now. It's fine.
Dude, thank you for sharing that story.
You're very welcome.
I'm on the 4th.
You're on glass 4.
Glass 4, sir.
Good man, good man. I unfortunately have run out of alcohol, so I'm now having a fab lolly because I'm 33, heterosexual, and ready to eat.
That is amazing. To be fair, man, I will say most of the things you're saying I could envision on a T-shirt. I think some of your unused. Sorry.
Like just like a web page called "Crazy Shit My Friend Says."
Yes. I think what you should do.
That one friend, because everyone's got that one friend who just talks mad shit about conspiracy theories and wild political concepts.
I think what you should do is you should take all of your like art designs that you don't want to use, put them on T-shirts, and add some like inspiration or philosophical thing to it.
You think I do designs for tattoos I'm not gonna do? Are you kidding me? That's valuable wanking time. Like, nah. Anyway, so how's your Glenmorangie treating you?
Oh man, good. I'm feeling very warm. So this
How do you drink it? If you serve it with your mouth, I'm going to come there and punch it.
Just with one bit of ice.
One bit of ice, nice. That's good. That's good. Have you tried in the freezer?
Oh yeah. Because that's what you had with the Johnny Morgans, wasn't it? Sorry, Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker. Yeah.
I fucking love that because you don't have to use ice. It's as strong as it's ever going to be, but it's beautiful and syrupy, and the glass is like, oh, there's something, that frosting on the glass from the condensation. Oh, fucking wonderful.
So this is so the Glenmorangie. The edition is called A Midwinter Night's Dream, the winter edition.
Very nice. Tell me more.
And it promotes itself as a marriage of spirits, matured in superior casks, which once held bourbon, Oloroso sherry, and Pedro, I think that's Jimenez sherry, creating a rich, spicy, and warming single malt whiskey.
Can you taste any of that shit in there?
Absolutely not.
Ha!
Clever marketing.
When people say crazy shit when they're swirling their wine, you just go, ooh, notes of autumn.
Yeah, no, it just tastes like whiskey.
Good man. How is Glenmorangie? I haven't had it for a while. Is it like, if as I remember, it's like a little bit peaty, isn't it? Or am I getting that wrong?
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know whiskey quite as well as you. It's definitely got kind of like I would describe it as it's got like a little bit of a kickback.
Okay.
So it's a little bit bitter.
Hello?
Hello? Yo. Sorry. I was saying it's like a little bit bitter.
Yeah. I know what you mean, yeah.
But yeah, man, it's nice. But if I'm honest, I mean, because of the states I tend to get into, as you know, I tend to have to be quite careful with whiskey, because I tend to be quite irresponsible with every drink, but whiskey seems to hit me a little bit harder than most things.
Well, that's the thing, you know. Like, if you're irresponsible with all of your drinks, whiskey's going to fuck you up fastest. You know?
Exactly. And I think it's the kind of thing of, I drink pints very quickly, and I think I need to learn to savor spirits, because I sometimes treat spirits the same as I treat beer.
Do you chug a whiskey, do you?
I remember once, I mean, it's a friend, he's passed away now, but he that's right. He was like in his 60s, man. It was like old age, but he was really into. He was so passionate about whiskey, but he was trying to teach me, a 16-year-old, about the importance of whiskey. Do you know what I mean? And at the time, I thought Budweiser were the best alcoholic drink around, so it was really uncultured, you know. But but I remember once he had like a little bit of a get together at his house. and he'd been talking about it that much, and I thought it were quite exciting about the thought of having like a single malt whiskey, because I thought the coolest whiskey would have been like Jack Daniel's, because that's what I'd seen on all the band stuff, all over Kerrang. But he said, "Oh, we'll try this," and I treated, and as far as I know, I only ever offended him once, and that was this night when he kind of like poured me in one of those really nice, what I now know as an actual whiskey glass, like where it's got kind of like curved, but it's thin at the bottom.
I know the ones,
yeah, like a taster glass.
Uh-huh.
And he poured me a single malt, and my only regret is I don't know what it was, because I'd have liked to have remembered that, but he poured it into the glass, and I was trying to impress, and so I thought, this is going straight back. So I knocked the whole thing back, and he was. I don't know if anybody's ever looked at you in like pure disgust.
Oh yeah.
He looked at me, mate, as if I'd. He looked at me as if I'd shit on his kids. You know what I mean? And he never let me. He never let me taste single malt again.
Like you took your sock off, turned it inside out, and just started licking the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Just like, what are you doing, you fucking creature?
I might as well have started wanking in front of him. Like that's the look I got. You know what I mean? Just the what the fuck are you doing in my house? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that kind of, oh come on, dude.
yeah. Don't tease me again.
Just like angry response, isn't it? When you've clearly offended their sensibilities, as opposed to just like insulting them or something. You've gone for that soul,
Oh man, it is just, and I just remember thinking to myself, I'm never coming around here again, and I was never invited, and he certainly.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair to him, I think he passed away like 3 years later. He was his problem was whiskey though. He was one of those. Bless him. His name was Phil, and he were a lovely bloke, but it was always going to happen. Do you know what I mean? He had a real kind of issue, and he would he would drink 2 glasses before he got out of bed.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty rough.
Yeah, and he used to say that he would have to drink to go to sleep at night. Eventually, unfortunately, bless him, this has got to be like 2009 maybe. So it's a long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
He was just taking the bin out one morning, and that was it, gone on the garden.
Right.
Yeah. Just a heart attack, but they put it down to things like cholesterol and liver. So yeah, so be careful.
God damn, dude.
But yeah,
hey, that's listening. Like fun shit is only fun shit when you don't do so much of it that it stops being fun shit. Like it's an important thing we all should learn, and unfortunately, not everybody gets the memo. That's the sad thing about it. Yeah. If a fun thing becomes a habit, take a look at it. Just take a look at it.
Oh yeah, dude. Honest, it's just kind of like, well, it's just life, isn't it? I think sometimes these lessons come about to kind of, I don't know. Anyway.
I know what you're trying to say. I get it. It's
yeah. It's
like and correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm going to say it as I understand it, and if I'm getting this wrong, obviously let me know. But it does feel like seeing someone you care about go through something so horrible, and never have the what's the word I'm looking for? Never have the moment of clarity. And then it ends up costing them so much. It's a lesson that you learned that you wish they had learned, but you learn it better for the fact that you saw what happened that they didn't. Is that fair?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Perfect, mate. Absolutely perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's got to be so hard, man. You know, and it's got to be difficult because I think that's the point of it as well, in some sense. I mean, let's be honest, man. I mean, he was in his late 60s. He knew, man. You know, he was probably totally at peace with the whole thing. He probably just thought, you know what, I'd rather go out swinging on my terms, you know, than you know, because there are these people, and I know for a fact that he probably wouldn't have been worried at all, man, because depending on where you stand with it, it really depends whether or not there's anything to worry about once the day comes, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously, like, that's the alternative perspective, is that he knew full well how this was going to end up. But he wasn't willing to trade in the joy that he was getting from this. And that's perfectly fine. That's totally legitimate.
Yeah.
That is totally legitimate. You know, like sorry, was it Phil?
Phil, yes.
Phil, yeah. So if Phil weighed it up and Phil decided that a shorter life with whiskey was better than a longer life without it, then that's absolutely his prerogative. That's his freedom. And that may well not have been a mistake to him in the way that we might consider it. Yeah. You know what is that? Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
It's a very messy thing, and there's a lot of shaky ethical ground there. So I don't want to kind of overstep.
Oh, dude, no, honestly, he was one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and he's got to have known. If me and you can chat about this now, he was double our ages. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, and nobody goes through life without knowing that. And I think the truth is, there's something that you said earlier which kind of stuck with me. You said you believe in free speech. You believe in that. Like, I agree with you. Free expression. I agree in the absolute sense in terms of free choice. So long as he never did anything that hurt anybody around him. You know, he wasn't the kind of guy that would have ever have robbed from somebody in order to get what he wanted. You know, a total free choice, man. That's what he wanted. That's where he was at. He was totally functioning. You know, you could sit and have very deep conversations with him. You know, he played guitar too, and I remember thinking it wasn't that it took hold of him because he was a very jolly person. I think he'd just come to peace with the thought of, like you say, he would have rather have lived with the bottle than without it.
Yes.
You know, and ultimately one day, you know, that's the price that's the price we all pay for something, man. Whether you smoke, whether you drink, whether you consume nothing but fast food, you know, we will all face the thing one day, you know.
Everybody in this world has a vice. And the people who claim they don't have a vice, well, God's probably their vice.
Yeah.
You know? They can't give.
Imagine having God as a vice. God, I can't get enough God.
Fuck that.
Right.
You know, fuck that. I wish nothing but the best to absolutely everybody who makes any decision that's going to make their own life better, as long as it doesn't make other people's lives worse. But I gave up on imaginary friends a long time ago, so that's my take on it, personally.
Dude, 100%. Are you familiar with George Carlin?
Are you kidding me?
I knew you would be, but I had to ask because the viewers don't know.
The greatest comedian of all time, man.
I could not agree more, man. I could not agree more.
Yeah.
I remember the.
There was a weird silence there.
I remember the joke that he once said, where he said, "Isn't it strange that, you know, that there's an invisible man? There are people that believe there's an invisible man, you know, who living in the sky, and he watches over everything you do every minute of every day, and God has a list of 10 things He does not want you to do. But if you do any of those things." If you do any of those things, you will burn and you will rot and you will cry forever and ever and ever until the end of time.
But He
loves you.
He loves you and he needs money. Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. The world's greatest bullshit story.
He was brilliant. I mean, for the record, anybody that whatever anybody believes in and wants to kind of hold a belief in, I think it's amazing that we live in a world ultimately where you have the right to free opinion. We live in a country, for however much we criticize, we are fortunate to live in a society, in a country where you are absolutely free to believe in whatever you want and freedom of expression, so long as that does not hurt anybody else.
Absolutely, 100%. And this is the first period in history where that's been the case, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
We're living the greatest time in humanity ever. No matter how much is wrong with it and how much we've complained about, we're living through more fucking freedom than people have ever had. This is the first, probably the first century that we've had. Like in the last century since we were born, so since the 80s, back to the 1880s, that was the first century where it was extremely unlikely that you'd be killed for the religion you follow, for the God you have.
Yeah.
That is being slowly but surely stamped out of society, and that's fucking amazing. And I will defend to the death anybody's right to believe anything they want that does not encroach upon the rights of others.
Absolutely.
As long as it doesn't encroach, you should be able to believe whatever the fuck you want. If you want to be a Scientologist, that's great. I have the right, through freedom, to call you a fucking idiot. But you have the right to follow that anyway. Yeah. That's totally fucking fine. And we should never legislate against that. Because through freedom comes terrible ideas and great ideas. And through censorship comes no ideas at all.
Yeah.
And society grinds to a fucking halt.
Well, it just plays into that whole thing that we were discussing earlier, where it's like you open up an arena for free speech versus opinion. And in a world where I think the biggest problem, man, with opinion is that everybody's got one and everyone thinks theirs is right.
Yeah. Everybody in the world thinks they're right, including us.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
I want to be at some point someone is going to listen to this and they're going to think everything we say is about the dumbest fucking thing they've ever heard. Yeah. And to them, they'll be right.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Because I think it's like you say, it's the argument, there's the lack now of the art of argument. You know what I mean? Yes. Yeah. We need to open the floor up. Now, I don't mind if somebody comes up to me and they don't agree with something I've said. I am more than happy for them to tell me that they do not believe in that. That is totally fine. Like I will never be offended by somebody telling me that they don't think I'm right in a certain situation. So long as they do not then get offended when I say, well, that's fine, because that's how you feel. I said it because that's how I feel.
And therein lies the problem, because a lot of people these days, and I'm generalizing, I know I'm generalizing, but a lot of people these days, they equate a disagreement to a personal attack because of the echo chambers in which they reside. So they get deeply offended by the fact that your political opinion doesn't align with theirs, and they regard that as an act of war. And a lot of the time, the reaction to that is destroy that person. And we see this all the time on social media. This dude said something that could potentially be racist, and therefore we need to destroy his TV deals, we need to destroy his music deals, we need to destroy his entire career, and we need to make his wife leave him. Because he said something that could potentially not align with us. And I think the people who treat it like that, who treat it like a war, are, in one word, cunts.
Yeah.
These are the people who fall for easy slogans, and they refuse to do the deep reading, and they refuse to meet with people on people's own terms to gain a deeper understanding of both sides of an argument. And if you refuse to understand both sides of an argument, then your take on the argument isn't fucking worth listening to. Because it's coming from a place of deep inherent bias and ignorance. So fuck you.
You are possibly the most learned person. Like, in terms of kind of like, to say that when people are listening to this, they're going to hear all of like the stories about, how can I put it? They are going to take a lot of the humour that you have put into this, and I think it's great that you can discuss such deep topics, but also on the other side of that coin, you have like a great sense of humour. I think.
Thanks.
I think it's amazing when you were making dick jokes about 10 minutes ago, and now you are like totally. You have a great way of digging deep, bud. You really do.
Thank you, man. But everything's worth digging into a little bit and just seeing what lies under the rock. Like that's really important. Like you can't go to the beachfront and scoop up a cup of water and look in the water and not see sharks and say there are no sharks in the ocean.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's completely fucking insane. But that is how we treat political opinions. And we also have to remember that political opinions are formed by a combination of a person's temperament with the information inflow they receive, which is biased through the fact that they receive most of their information from the news channels they choose to watch, and also the algorithms of the social media that they choose to play within. So everyone's political environment is inherently biased against them getting the full story, and that's why it's so important to try. It's so important to try.
Imagine if everybody in the world, just whatever they are doing today, whatever anybody's doing when they listen to this, imagine if today they just made the decision to, whatever situation they were faced with, whatever argument or possible conflict that they were about to face, imagine if they just said, I'll tell you what, pal, right? This is how I feel, but I want to know how you... Let me see it from your point of view.
Yeah, and like, have you ever heard of a man called Daryl Davis?
No.
So Daryl Davis is a black man. He's a jazz and rock and R&B musician. He's a drummer. I believe. No, not a drummer. I'm wrong. He plays boogie woogie piano. Yeah, he's incredible. He's really incredible. But he's this kind of fairly old, like he's probably in his 60s. Fairly old black fella. And he's been a touring working musician for most of his adult life. And he tells this story of how he met some members of the Ku Klux Klan. And he was very fortunate in that he was performing in town that night, and this dude came up to him afterwards, and he was like, "Holy shit, man, you play piano just like Jerry Lee." Obviously meaning Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Turns it to him, and he says, "Oh, well, no, Jerry Lee got that from us. Like, that's... Yeah, boogie woogie piano, boogie woogie piano was like, this is an old thing. This comes from old black spirituals, and it's just been kind of like, it's just evolved the way society's evolved." And this dude wasn't having any of it. He was like, "No, man, you're the black guy that plays like Jerry Lee," and he couldn't get past that. And eventually, they had a couple of drinks, and then this dude starts talking about the fact that he's in the Klan, and Daryl Davis thinks he's full of shit. Until he produces his fucking membership card, right?
They have membership cards?
They have membership cards. They have a fucking... Obviously, they have a selection of uniforms. They have official hierarchical titles. It's like halfway between a private organization and a private military. But anyway, this guy... I can't remember the guy's name. But anyway, Daryl Davis sits with him and that. And they shoot the shit a little bit, and Daryl Davis is like, he's wary of this man for good fucking reason. He's a black man in this guy's bar, and if this guy is comfortable in this bar, this means this is a Klan bar.
Yeah.
He's a little concerned. But he says, look, I'm playing here again in a couple of weeks. Bring your friends down. If you like the music, bring your friends down. Love to meet them. So the guy does. And this goes on and on. And they treat him surprisingly well. His race is obviously a major issue, but it's not. It's one thing he noticed is that it wasn't a hatred thing. He was being treated as a human, a lesser human, but he was still he wasn't being threatened. He didn't feel unsafe.
Yeah.
He was allowed to go about his business, and he was allowed to discuss things that he felt he should discuss. And they kind of got deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And he says the greatest thing he did was that he asked them how they felt and why they felt that way and what they thought led to them being that way. So this is a man who comes from literally the target group of these people. Like, he is literally the prey to their predators.
Yeah.
And he sits down with them and he reasons with them, and because they can't do it to him, he treats them like very decent human beings, and he asks them why, and he listens to them. And through that, he's had these people kind of look in upon themselves, become more introspective, challenge their own beliefs, and come to their own conclusions. And many of them have stayed in the clan. But at last count, he had about 200 clan hoods from people who had handed them in personally to him, including police, grand wizards, the fucking highest of the high. And these people wanted to turn in their uniform to him specifically because he provided them an alternative viewpoint, but without screaming it at them, without protesting them. He wanted to get on their level as humans and explore their viewpoint. And through that, they began to see the cracks in the wall. They began to understand how poor their viewpoint was. They improved as human beings and they walked away from this thing. And he is a fucking American hero. He's a true American hero in my eyes. And that is the only way you get real progress. You cannot force someone to look at their own beliefs by yelling what's wrong with them. It never ever works, and it never ever did. But if you ask them to explain that shit to you, then you maybe point out one or two things that maybe don't add up to you. They'll think about that, and you might just change a life.
That is a beautiful lesson when you think about how much courage and how much fear that man must have had to have gone through, but how resolute he was in his belief that would work,
Well, he tells a story about a local chapter leader that very nearly goes extremely sideways. Very, very nearly. I'm not going to spoil it because I would recommend that anybody listening to this types his name into YouTube. He's done the Joe Rogan podcast a couple of times. He's done a few TED Talks. You will find that story. But he's eloquent, he's smart, he's understanding, he's empathetic, and he's a fucking hero. And everybody should know more about him. And that is how we debate. Daryl Davis.
Daryl Davis.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, check out Daryl Davis. That sounds amazing. And that sounds like a lesson I think that we all need to learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Gary.
Hello.
You are a fan of video games.
You asked me that like half an hour ago.
I know.
Oh, shit. Are we? Oh my god, we're fucking 2.5 hours. This is amazing. We
are. This will officially be the longest episode, but it is amazing. Dude, I'm loving every minute of it.
This has been an absolute pleasure, mate. An absolute pleasure. Right, what's the video game shit? Let's wrap this up so we can go home. Fucking hell, what a drop.
What is your favourite game?
Of all time?
Yes.
It would be a toss-up between Final Fantasy VII and The Last of Us, the first Last of Us.
Ooh, was the Final Fantasy VII the original or the remake?
Yeah, the original, yes.
Oh, sir, you are known as something else as well. You have you actually have a name for yourself.
Oh no, that's right. The fat. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
You are known in some circles, some important circles, dare I add, as the Don.
I certainly am, yes.
Which is great because you can take that in one of two ways. You could think, well, it's Final Fantasy related, or the fucking Godfather, some of the greatest films ever made, in my opinion.
It ain't the second one. It ain't the second one.
Yes.
So, as you know, both of our wives, they love Final Fantasy. They're part of the Final Fantasy community, and they love cosplay.
Yes.
And I promised I would go along with my wife because I love her very much, and I'm willing to look at twat for her. As are you.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, mate, I have absolutely no problem with.
You had with the next day when you were dressed in that fucking getup.
That was what was quite funny.
This dude was jeans and a leather jacket. This motherfucker was dressed up like 80s anime. It was amazing. It was amazing. And he said, yeah, I'm really sorry for getting a little bit out of hand last night. Dressed like fucking Dragon Ball Z. Oh.
Mate, one of the best. Oh, mate, one of the most amazing things. So I said the story earlier about how I was started the fight on the Friday night, right? Yeah. On the Saturday, when I run into this guy again and apologise to him and shake his hand, dude, I am dressed like that. I stood at the bar with him, toe to toe with him, face to face, nose to nose with this motherfucker on the Friday night at the bar. And on the Saturday, I go and shake his hand dressed like somebody from Final Fantasy X. It was amazing because he must have just been like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah. Oh, hang on, were you dressed as Walker?
No, because this is the thing, right? Okay, so I am not worried about dressing up. I don't mind cosplay at all. I think it's amazing the people that do it. My only issue is I will never be able to go to any of these conventions as a main character. I will never do it because I don't know the things that well, and I feel like I'm just doing the entire thing a disservice. So I've always said to my wife, I will, if I'm dressing up, I'm going as just a back character that is meaningless. So, so the first night, when we were at Glasgow the first time and we got utterly shit-faced on the Friday night on the whiskey, the next day I was meant to be going to KupoCon as a hot dog vendor from 15. Because one, I do not have the physique for any of those guys, but plus I was like, if I'm going at, I don't want anybody coming up to me and start telling me references that I'm not going to fucking know. So all I will do is I will just be the most generic guy, the NPC in the back that nobody ever mentions, nobody ever talks to, but he's just there. And I had the whole get-up, mate, for this fucking hot dog guy in Lestalium, like in 15. It would have been amazing, but I was still vomiting come dinner time, so that was never going to work. Yeah. And so when it was like Final Fantasy X, it was like, well, I really like Walker, but I said, I just want to be one of the guys from the team, the one that speaks the least. So apparently there's a character called Keeper who literally does one dive at one point, and that's his entire role in the entire game. I went as that guy.
Well, you picked well. You picked really, really well. Oh my god.
But no, man. So
the vision of you trying to break bread with that fella.
Especially because then he.
That's like Donald Trump going to make peace with Kim Jong-un, but both of them are dressed as fucking Oompa Loompas. Like, it's somehow even more ridiculous than the thing that was already ridiculous, you know?
I'll be honest, I'd have felt less of a knob if he was dressed up too, but he wasn't. He was
No, he wasn't. Because he was there for a fucking wedding or something. Like,
I know, yeah. He still looked smart the next day, and he had me come up to him and go, "Yeah, sorry about that fight last night, mate. Anyway, is it?" and then we both had to go and see the manager with me dressed like that.
oh my word, amazing.
So I would say I definitely faced the embarrassment for my actions that weekend.
You definitely did. You paid the piper, mate. You paid the piper. It's fair to admit you.
But you are called the Don because one of the most amazing costumes or cosplay I have ever seen was you going as Don Corneo, and I only knew who that was based on who you were dressed as, because I didn't know who that was. All I know, when I played 7 Remake, I didn't see that as Don Corneo. I saw that as you. Because I was like, I've drank with that fella.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go for it, you gotta lean into that shit, you know.
Ladies
There's a
and
lot
gentlemen,
of jewelry on display that day.
ladies and gentlemen, if you've not played Final Fantasy VII, Google Don Corneo right now, and that is Gary. I must say, obviously, you are not a sleazy in any way. You are an absolute gentleman. You are everything Don Corneo is not.
I am filth.
You are filth, but you are gentleman filth. I would say you're like. Have you seen the film Kingsman?
Yes.
I would say you are that kind of a gentleman. You are two sides of that coin. You're a gentleman. You know how to look good and be very, very presentable, very, very gentleman-like. But you could whip a room in shape if you needed it.
That is the first time in my fucking life I've ever been described as that. That's very kind, but I'm starting to really doubt your judgment of human beings.
Well, I am 5 glasses now into Glenmorangie.
Never work at like customs or for the police or anything, you know. You've got a trustworthy face. On you go, you know.
So let me ask you this then: what is the worst game you've ever played?
The worst game I've ever played. Oh, now that's an interesting one. That is an interesting question, actually, because that's the thing. There's a ton of games that you pick up, you go, fuck this, and you just kind of step away from it, don't you?
I think when I was writing this, I think what was going through my head was I thought, in terms of, so for me, the worst game would be something that made me so angry that I physically would not touch it again. And I think that might come from a place of, like, how can I put it? Like, not in terms of like there was a game that was that shit or that glitchy that I just never dealt with it. Like, it was something I felt like I was really looking forward to that I threw it away. So my example would be Neo.
Okay.
Because Neo looks like an incredible game, and I love the aesthetic and I love the actual visuals, but I am utterly dog shit with any game like Dark Souls, and so the difficulty spike in that was something that I threw it away, and I utterly fucked myself over in this because it was the first time I ever bought a game on PlayStation Online on the store. Yeah, and it's also the only way you will never ever get a refund.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can't just take it back. So I get that. I had a very similar experience with Bloodborne, except my problem with Bloodborne, well, it's basically the same problem you had. I really respected it as an artistic achievement and as a game, and I totally get why people love it. I totally get it. In fact, one of my favourite things to do, just to relax, is pour myself a whiskey and watch speedruns. And speedruns of the Dark Souls games are the best ones, because people have to be fucking incredible at a game that is already incredibly hard. But with Bloodborne, I only made it to the first boss once, and I tried 20 times, and the other 19 times I didn't even make it to the boss. And I just kind of sat there and just went, I can respect it as a work of art, but I am not doing this shit. I'm just not doing it. And I don't hate it, and I don't think it's bad.
Dude,
but I will never play a Souls game again because I like my games story-driven and easy.
Yes, absolutely. Dude, I'm right there with you. And I felt like an absolute dickhead years ago when... So the games I would always play were first-person shooters. I loved Call of Duty and BioShock and things that were easy and you could just get through them in a night if you wanted, you know.
Yeah, games that were short and fairly intuitive.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And there was this one year where my wife Perry, she bought me Bloodborne. And I will be honest with you. It was a wonderful gift, and I love it to bits. And I've still got it. I will not get rid of it because it was a gift. But yeah. I will say, I never made it out of the graveyard at the start. No matter how hard I tried. No matter how hard I tried, I would. You know that first village where you've got that. It's like a mob walking down the street.
Yes. Yeah.
I would. No matter what I did, they would kill me. No matter what I did. I went round every single way, and mate, and I kid you not, like, I was playing this thing, and I swear to God, man, this is how shit I am at these games. I was playing that game for legitimately 2 months.
Oh, dude!
Because
I got a week, and I wanted to kill it.
Because I was playing it for 2 months because I felt so sad that she'd bought me this gift, and I thought, I need to finish it, man. I need to play it because otherwise, I would feel ungrateful, you know.
Yeah,
but my God, man, I got worse rage with that than I've ever had at FIFA, and I've had a lot of FIFA rage.
Oh my God, FIFA rage is the worst rage for me. FIFA's the only game that ever cost me a controller. I won't buy another FIFA. I won't do it. Because Kaylee even says like it's an instant fucking line to the core of my rage. Like there is nothing that does that to me in FIFA. Like there is nothing in the world. I don't feel as bad about Donald Trump being president, Boris Johnson being prime minister, Britain leaving the European Union, and coronavirus ravaging society as I do about losing 3-2 in extra time. I will take all of that shit over losing to fucking Norwich. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, my best mate Dale, he is a genuine football fan. He was a genuine kind of like I will sit with him and he will scream at the television during live football, okay? Because he's a massive Liverpool fan. He will scream at the TV, and there are times where I think I've been more angry at this at FIFA.
Yeah.
Like he's screaming, and I'm thinking, this isn't FIFA, mate. You know what I mean? My God, are you a man of sports?
Not particularly. I mean, you've met me. Do I appear to you like a man of sports?
I think you. Lacrosse, maybe.
You cheeky bastard. It's darts, you know.
Darts, yeah. I think.
Link sport.
Yeah. No, but honestly, so what would you say would be the worst game you've ever played?
The worst game. You know, I've never played a game that just felt like a straight up piece of dog shit to me, because I don't go out and spend 40 quid on stuff that I haven't vetted through reviews and YouTube adverts and shit like that. But I would say the most disappointing experience I've had. Now, this is still a game that I regard as exceptional, but the most disappointing experience I've had would have to be the second half of Metal Gear Solid 5. Because there was all of that trouble with Konami and Kojima, and the game was completely unfinished. So they just, instead of putting the rest of the missions in and finishing the missions, they continued the story. The plot was clearly finished, but what they did, instead of adding the additional missions that were needed to pad out the game, was they just took the missions that had already been finished, that you've already done up to that point, and they turned them into like extremely difficulty, or like a subsistence mission where you get dropped in with no equipment and you have to do it with complete on-site procurement. And it was such a fucking lazy way to finish such a great game that I've played through that game 3 times because of how good the first half is. The first half is astounding. Like, fucking astounding. But when you get halfway through the game, you've finished the game. And then the next 30 hours is really bad padding. For the sake of a story that goes off the hinges anyway. So that's probably the experience that's left the most sour of a taste in my mouth. And I only ever completed it once. And I just kind of get through as many missions as I can be arsed with now.
Oh, bless you, man.
Like, when I just get bored and frustrated of how lazy it is, that's when I walk away.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you at all, but...
It's both one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had and one of the worst.
That's a great way of looking at it. 2 sides of the coin, sir.
Thank you. I feel like I've thanked you a lot. What about you? What's the worst game you've ever played? Whether that's objective or subjective, what's the worst?
The worst game I've ever played? So, Wolfenstein Youngblood. Because it's the most recent one, and I have always been a huge fan of Wolfenstein games. I love them because they are just turn your brain off, kill things.
Yeah, fuck the Nazis up. Yeah. Yeah,
man. But I always look forward to the Wolfenstein games because I love. Although it is kind of like I suppose it's in the same element of Doom, where it's just kind of like you can just turn your mind off. But I always find that they are quite, oddly enough, they are good stories. They are well written. And so this new Wolfenstein was coming out, and I was really excited about it because it was like for the first time you play as a woman. Okay, well that's pretty cool because I feel like if any game was to kind of, because Wolfenstein has always been very much balls to the wall and we do what we want, fuck you if you don't like it. I always thought, oh well, this is going to be awesome because I bet these are the most badass women in video game history. You know what I mean? And I was so excited. But what the game actually transpired to be was it was almost like there'd been an argument between 2 parents, and the one who doesn't make games decided to make the game.
Oh no!
Because it was just like shit. Just the story, the gameplay, the 2. So in the Wolfenstein games, the protagonist is BJ Blazkowicz, who is a great character. I think a lot of people tend to put him in the same arena because it's like an older game. A lot of people tend to think of him the same way as Duke Nukem, and there is a massive difference in those characters because BJ Blazkowicz.
More of a Doom guy kind of guy, just this invincible killing machine.
See, he is to a degree, but he's actually got character. You know, he has these kind of like deep moments where you remember that you're playing as a human being, you know, and you've got that. Yeah, I wouldn't say Wolfenstein games are deep in any way, but I would say like you feel at all times like he is just a human and he feels like he's doing the right thing. You feel like it's good. But this game, man, came out, and the two girls, it's like two girls who are frat boys on the inside.
Oh, no.
The entire game, man, is just shit banter between them.
Does it defeat the point of them being female characters?
It does, because these girls, you are meant to like them because they turn out, apparently they're BJ Blazkowicz's daughters. So you think, wow, you know, I've played as this character throughout all of these games. He is a badass. His daughters, of course, are going to be badasses. But it's just like 2 girls that are just making dick jokes all the time, which BJ never does, despite his name. Yeah. When he could, but he never does.
Yeah.
And they're just, the characters are totally unlikable. The gameplay is totally different from what the game, and it just feels like more of a cash grab. It's like, this is how I'd describe it. It's like the Metal Gear Survive of the series.
Oh Jesus! Okay,
It's
right.
it's it's like it's like the utter shit cash grab that every company tries.
Yeah.
And it's sad in a way because it felt like, it felt like Wolfenstein would make this great game about these two awesome daughters, these two awesome sisters of the Blazkowicz family. But yeah, just never transpires. So I do hope that one day they'll go back and rewrite this.
Like great female characters can be done.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I was a huge fan of BioShock, and I still think to this day there is no better AI or kind of like side woman, as you will, than Elizabeth in BioShock Infinite, if you ever played that.
I didn't play it, but I know enough about it. I know what you mean. Yeah, like she's like crazy powerful. She could take care of herself. She acts like another player.
Yes, at no point are you ever having to save her, and on top of that, she helps you. Because when you run out of bullets and stuff, she's the one that's reloading you. It's like, it's perfect. It's perfect. But there are amazing female characters now, and I do think that's important. I think it's really been delayed, and I don't know why, but it's great that we are living in a time now where you do have that, strong male and strong female games,
Yeah. I think the delay is pretty obvious, and it's that like for the longest time, video games have been the preserve of teenage boys.
Yes.
And now that demographic is shifting, like you've got to remember, the companies go where the money is. They always go where the like for all these are incredible pieces of art that we deeply enjoy and deeply love. These guys are chasing a buck. That's what it comes down to. So obviously in the 90s, your strong female lead was the strong female lead that was going to give a teenage boy a hard on. It was your Lara Croft.
Yes.
But nowadays we have the likes of Chloe and Elena from the Uncharted series, who are amazing, absolutely amazing. Kind of sexualized, but nowhere near what we've seen in the past. It can be done. You can write one thing that has been the bane of video games and movies and TV shows forever has been that you can write a complicated, difficult male character who makes mistakes and tries to fix them and has a personality arc throughout the game.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with a woman, or else people lose their fucking minds for no good reason. And I think that happened with the most recent The Last of Us. Like, I get why you wouldn't like the story, but showing these perspectives and showing these character arcs and these opportunities for learning and the mistakes made that's classic storytelling. Like, both of the women in The Last of Us 2 have almost identical character arcs to what Joel has in The Last of Us 1. And we fucking loved that story, and we hate this one, and nobody seems to know why. And I think it's that the audience just needs to do some catching up.
I think part of it, I mean, I know of the controversy. I've not played it myself. I would really like to. My problem is I never pay full price for a game. But what I will say is I think
you won't pay full price for.
I never paid full price, unless it's Shenmue. But what I will say,
Shenmue 3 wasn't your worst game ever.
Oh man, I love that game.
Shenmue 3, really?
So this is what I'm gonna say. This actually works into what I was gonna say. Sorry?
I was saying I didn't play it, but it got destroyed by the critics.
See, this is what I'm going to say about in terms of kind of like Last of Us Part 2. I think the problem is with these games. These days, games get hyped up so much. I mean, The Last of Us was such an incredibly refreshing game, and
yes,
it is it is lauded almost over by everybody who agrees that it was an absolute pinnacle in storytelling at a time where everything felt generic.
Yes.
But I also think that just like with everything else, the hype was going to be what destroyed number 2. I think people had already made their minds up about part 2 before it even came out. Not just because of the leaks, and not where they stand politically, but I think it's got to be so hard for something to be. When the first made so many people happy, people were always going to pull apart the second. It was very unlikely anybody would have ever have turned around and said, number 2 is absolutely perfect. It's exactly what we wanted. You were never going to get that.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to create something completely revolutionary that changes an entire industry and then do it again.
Exactly.
It's
and
possible to do that. And to their credit, they gave it the old college try, and I absolutely fucking loved it. But I get it. I get the backlash. I do get it. Yeah.
I think a lot of it as well. I mean, obviously, I've not played it, but I'm aware of situations. But I think the problem as well is, I think part of it is to do with the actual development team. I think there's a point where the art goes like it's kind of like art versus creator in a way. Like, I've seen more negative things said about the director of the game than I actually have about the game. And I think that all comes from a place of, I think when the creator of something needs to turn around, which apparently he's done. You know, I can't argue with the man at all. But I think when the creator of something comes out and says, look, you might like this or you might not. Ultimately, we are making the game that we believe this. We are going to, which I believe he did. He said, we are going to follow their story, not what you, what it is, not what you think it should be.
Yeah.
And like that is the absolute difference. You know, it's
you're not creating fan fiction. They're not creating fan service.
No, they
tell a story they feel is right.
Exactly, and you aren't. The game was never going to be what people wanted it to be. I think that makes it a stronger thing, and I think that proves that. Personally, I think that gives them much more playing room, because it's suddenly like you could have just drawn out 5 more of these, you know, with these particular characters, but you have just utterly shown your balls in the room and gone, we're doing something different now. That takes fucking balls, man. You could have had games, you could have had years full of this shit. Look at Assassin's Creed and all the rest of it that never change the formula because they're scared of losing that, you know, viewership.
Yeah, they're enjoying the money, and that's fair enough. What always made Naughty Dog the greatest was that they always took the extra step. They just try harder than everybody else. Now, the problem with Naughty Dog as a company is that they've really bought into crunch culture.
Yeah.
And they expect a lot more of all of their artists, all of their development teams. Everyone who's on board at Naughty Dog is expected to work twice as hard as they would be working at any other games company, except for maybe Rockstar. And I can understand why that might be something that a lot of people would have a really serious problem with. The other side of the coin is, if you want exceptional results, then you have to make exceptional efforts. And Naughty Dog have been nothing if not honest about what their mission statement is. So, like, if you just kind of want to coast through the games industry, don't get a fucking job there, man.
No,
do you know what I mean?
And I don't believe for a second that this is not these things are not written into the contracts. But I will say this. This is where you kind of start to see the political divide, or the social divide, because the same people that point this stuff out and say, oh, we don't agree with this. I mean, you remember Telltale?
Yes.
I mean, it just transpired one day that, oh my God, these were living in really shit. These were working in really shit conditions, and that's what ultimately, led to their downturn. But the thing is, yeah, Naughty Dog no company should ever, demand that on their employees. But at the same respect, a lot of these people that are shitting on Naughty Dog for this go out every year and buy the next Call of Duty games. Now, Activision, especially, have a long history of shutting down independent studios and forcing them onto the next onto the Call of Duty boat or whatever the main franchises are, often against their interests, and a lot of the time put on crunch time, but nobody cares about that. It depends on where your loyalties lie,
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm kind of sympathetic to Naughty Dog's working practices to a degree because of how intent they are to get the results they get. And no matter what way you slice it, the likes of Last of Us 2 and Uncharted 4 are technical powerhouses. They absolutely showcase the hardware and the software better than any other game out there, save for maybe God of War. They are astonishing, landmark technical achievements.
Yeah.
And you have to work your butt off to get that. But at the same time, you've got to be transparent about that as well. Like, you don't just hire anyone and then drop it on them that they're going to be working 80-hour weeks. You don't do that. You say, this is what we expect of anybody in this company. And if you don't have that in you, if that's not your own ambition, don't even put your fucking CV in, man.
Yeah.
That to me seems fair.
And I think as well. I think as yeah. I think as well, it's kind of unfair as well because the video game market has become it's so competitive now. These companies, if there are people who are so impatient now that most games have to be released before they're even fixed. That's why you have so many glitches. But it's because they are keeping up with the demand. They are trying to be competitive with all these other things. So I see it from both respects. It's shit that kind of like maybe the lowest paid people at Naughty Dog are feeling the crunch, and it's shit, and nobody should ever feel like that. But in the same respect, like you said earlier, if anybody is ever unhappy in their jobs, there are alternative options. But in the same respect, a business is a business, and they are only trying. They are in a market that moves much quicker than them.
Yeah.
And in order to remain in that market, you have to be there. You mentioned earlier about Shenmue 3, and that is a great example of what happens when you leave a 20-year gap between what the market was and what it is now. So
yes.
Personally, yes, Shenmue 3 got absolutely ripped to pieces. But personally, as a huge Shenmue fan, which I am, it was funnily enough, every criticism about it was the reason I liked it. That game, when I got it, man, that is honestly, I cried. Well, okay, I cried legitimately when I watched the E3 in 2015 and I knew it was coming. I cried. I cried when we got the release date. I cried when I bought the game. Back when I used to have social media, I took a photo of when it was actually delivered. I was crying then, and I cried at the end. And the problem with Shenmue is that, mate, people shit on the first one, people shit on the second, people shit on the third. It doesn't matter, because I think when I go for a game, I don't give a fuck what the critics or what people say about it. I play the games I want to play, and I don't think that anybody, such as yourself, who is a huge, The Last of Us fan, it shouldn't matter to you what the critics say, but all that matters is how you feel about it. As a man who loves the story and who loves those characters, all that matters is your perception. I think we rely far too fucking heavily on what everybody else's this works into it. We rely too heavily on what fucking other people's opinions are of shit. It doesn't matter. It's how you feel about it that counts, you know?
Absolutely, we do. Which is kind of weird because we both live in an echo chamber and we are adversely coloured by other people's opinions at the same time.
Yeah.
It's very, very strange. Obviously, I saw the hate train that was coming for the game after it's, it got, stepped back and stepped back and stepped back.
Yeah.
And when it eventually released, I just stayed off the fucking internet for the week leading up to release, pretty much.
Yeah.
And when it came out, I stayed up until midnight and I played that shit. I did about a 23 or 24 hour playthrough in 2 days. I just blasted through it, and I thought it was incredible. And then I checked the reviews, and all of the critic reviews said it was a genre-defining, once in a generation game. I was like, oh yeah, that seems about right. And then all of the user reviews were shitting on it like I've never seen. I've never seen such a pushback against the game. And I read a bunch of them, and I put my own Metacritic review up, which I don't do. I don't scream in the void. It's not my thing. But with this one, I felt like I needed to, because I was just like, were you motherfuckers playing the same game? And eventually I just stepped away from it. I stepped away from the whole thing entirely, and I just played the game again and really enjoyed it. I thought it was fabulous, and it sucks when the guys make story decisions that you feel sad about, but that's the fucking point,
Yeah. There comes a point, and I think Naughty Dog did it really well, because what they essentially do is they say to the player, they say, I am telling this fucking story, not you.
Yeah, it's not your story, it's the characters. It's nothing to do with
Exactly. And what infuriates players is having the power that you think you have over a franchise as a fan. Because it's the entitlement.
There is an entitlement. People think they deserve their happy ending.
Yeah. And ultimately, you are at the behest of whatever that company wants. You know what I mean? And so people.
Sorry, you first.
No, I was just gonna say, people just need to accept that creative decision. That is what they want. They wrote the story. You would not have any of these characters if it was not for them. So let them tell that story.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, when a band comes out with an album that you don't fucking like, right?
Yeah.
You don't get to hate that band, and you don't get to shit on everything they've done that up until that point you thought had value, just because you don't like that one effort they made that they're very happy with. You don't get all the shots on other people's art, ever. Fucking ever. And to be fair, people have the right to hate it. They do have the right to hate it. But to think you deserve a say in the creation of that art is, to me, astonishingly arrogant.
Yeah, absolutely. Like nobody ever gives a shit if I was to say to you, for example, if I was to say to you, I think the Mona Lisa painting is a bag of shit. It wouldn't matter, because the time since that's happened, it's no big deal. But if I was to say to you, The Last of Us was shit, you would feel, even though both of those things is me criticising a piece of art that I have no involvement in and absolutely no right to it doesn't matter how I think. But the problem is when I criticise one, it's meaningless because you probably don't care about the Mona Lisa. If you do, I apologise. But the second, But the second is that I'm criticizing something that you are passionate about. And so out of those two things, I've done the same thing, but because one of them you hold quite dear, it makes it feel different. And I think the problem is in society, and especially in these fandom groups, is that we tend to hold onto certain things as precious, and we don't like when people criticize it. We don't care if people criticize what somebody else likes, but if you criticize something I like, I don't like it, that's different, Yeah. But ultimately, it is somebody just sharing opinion on art,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. What I would say is a lot of the problem is nobody gets to demand that the Mona Lisa be repainted.
Exactly.
You don't get to demand that. And the other side of things, it's like, how am I putting this? You're absolutely right in that your opinion of The Last of Us matters more than your opinion of the Mona Lisa to me, because The Last of Us is closer to me as a person. But that should not necessarily affect the vitriol of my response, or it shouldn't lead me to demand your silence and cooperation.
Exactly.
It shouldn't lead to me having the right to do any of that. You should have the right to dissent, even if I don't understand it. And that's why I say I get it.
Yeah.
But it's a bit fucking crazy to me, but I get it. But yeah, like you see this a lot in comedy. Obviously, you said before, like, you're a big fan of Colin. We're both huge stand-up comedian fans. And we're seeing this consistently in stand-up comedy, where people laugh at every fucking joke right up until it's something that matters to them. All of a sudden, it's not a joke, it's a political statement, and that person needs to go away, and they shouldn't get any more Netflix specials, and their YouTube account should be disabled, and they shouldn't make any more money. And all of the other stuff is offensive to someone else in the world. But until it came around to that one fucking thing, up until that point, that joke, that set was just fine by you. And then all of a sudden you want to destroy that person for exercising their own freedom. Yeah. And I think that is disgraceful. Like,
it comes from, just for the record as well, I don't think The Last of Us is a bag of shit. I think it's a fantastic game. It was just as an example. But what I will say is, it comes from a place, I think, of it's somebody's insecurity. Because if you came up to me and you said, because if you were to say, I think this thing is shit, and I actually really like it, I will get defensive, because it's not that I'm angry that you think that's shit. It's because what I take that as, I perceive that as, well, you are making me question my thoughts on it. It's kind of like it's an attack on. It's kind of like saying, well, you think you're better than me because you don't like it, but I like it. So what? You think you're better than me?
Yeah.
People take it as a personal strike, as opposed to just an opinion on something that is not that important.
Yeah, and maybe it's going back to that the clan conversation we were having earlier. Maybe it goes back to that to a certain level, where a comedian is, there's no other way to describe it than aggressive. They're the guy with the microphone and they're screaming at the audience. And that instantly, as soon as that gets around to something personal, that puts that person off. Like, the worst person in the fucking world to sit down and try and have a conversation with a member of the Ku Klux Klan would be someone like Frankie Boyle or Bill Burr or Patrice O'Neill.
I do love Bill Burr.
Who are just going to rip these motherfuckers, because you're never going to elicit any empathy.
Yeah.
I think that doesn't suggest that comedy is wrong, because there's a good reason one person in the room is facing the opposite direction to everybody else and has a microphone.
Yeah, of course.
So it is a little bit odd. I get the emotional response, but at the same time, don't be a dick and ask that someone be destroyed for the fact that they said something you don't like. Like, we all have certain things where we just don't find that thing funny because of our own personal pain. We all have those things, no matter what they may be. It could be, it could be pedophilia, it could be cancer, it could be plane accidents or car accidents. But you don't get to decide what the comic says or doesn't say, and you don't get to punish them for the fact that they exercise that freedom. I have jokes that I will hear and I will not laugh at. But what I won't do is try to remove that person from existence.
And I think that's what elevates you and people who feel that same way as human beings. Because ultimately, if we only have this one life and we are here for a very fucking short space of time, I think the difference is that there's a very clear difference between a personal attack and causing offence.
Yes.
And I think so long as something is not said in a personal attack, it is it's okay to cause offence. Because I think it makes a healthy society.
Offence is completely subjective. What offends you is unlikely to offend me.
Exactly.
And when something's that personal, you can't legislate against that. You can't make something provocative that doesn't upset anybody. That's impossible. It's completely impossible. Okay? When you do that, you get shitty clowns instead of actual philosophical comedians. You get watered down bullshit video games instead of story-driven masterpieces.
Exactly.
You don't get art. You get the least upsetting thing, and that's not fucking art.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Bud, thank you so much for that great insight and for these deep conversations, man. I have utterly thrived, and this is such a long episode, and I love it. And I will let you go soon, I promise, but I just have a few final situational questions, if I may.
Of course. Let's try and keep the answers to less than an hour at a time.
Yes. But I will say, mate, I will say this now before I start, and I'm sure that the listeners will absolutely agree. This has got to be the deepest, most philosophical episode that there's been, and I love it. So thank you so much.
Mate, it's been dynamite. It's been so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. You ask great questions, have great conversations.
Thank you so much, man. That means a lot. That really does. Okay, so I've got some situational questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, we'll go.
Okay. What's more important to you, your eyes or your ears?
Well, given my job, this is a bad one, but my ears. I don't think I could live without music.
Good man. Okay. Number 2, would you rather have 1 foot or 1 hand?
1 foot. Dude, okay. Got feet conditions. I've basically got 1 foot like half the year. Like.
Okay, I hope you're ready for this one. Number 3, would you rather give oral sex to Theresa May or receive oral sex from Boris Johnson?
Do the lights have to...
What?
Do the lights have to be on?
Well, that's your prerogative, mate. That's totally up to you.
Oh, man, I'm going to go with Boris, and I'm going to put my hand on the top of his head and pretend he's the Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz.
Beautiful. Number 4. What could you not live without?
Kaylee.
Beautiful. This one goes a little deeper, but I'd like to ask, but you tell me at any point if you don't want to. Okay?
Hang on a minute. Also Monster Munch. That's how much I love my wife. I place her on the same level as Monster Munch.
I hope we get sponsored for that.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Because you do love your wife incredibly, and I think this episode has pointed that out.
Yeah, man.
So, who has had the biggest impact on your life?
What, do you mean like a peer or an artist or?
It can be anything. Like when you look back at your life, what has been the biggest? Who has had the biggest impact, and why?
As soppy as it would have to be, and I don't want to do the whole fucking bullshit country song version of this, but it would be Kaylee. She has made me want to be a better person, and life with her is lived in technical, and life without her is lived in black and white. So I would say her. Everything seems more worthwhile for the fact that she's a part of it, and she's got great tits. So going back
that sounded like it was going to be the most beautiful, most mwah moment, but then again, it is the truth, bud, and it is your question.
Oh, they are great. They are great. No, like being completely serious. There are obviously, you should say your mother or your father, and I love them. I love them very much. But nobody has made me want to become a better person, a more mature person, a more thoughtful person, and a more grown-up person than the person who I chose to spend the rest of my life with. She's cool as shit. She is cool as shit. And making her happy makes me more happy than anything else in the world. So, yeah.
Gary, that is absolutely beautiful. And I'm so happy in every sense that you are a man who has found pure joy and pure happiness, who has an amazing wife and an amazing job, and somebody who is so utterly happy with life, man. It has been a genuine pleasure to have you on this show. You are one of the nicest, honest, most welcoming guys I've ever met. You're a true gentleman. You're always supportive, and you know exactly what to say when people need advice or a kind word. You are a real shining light, man. Don't ever doubt that.
That's really, really lovely of you to say, mate. And you're okay too, I guess.
Thank you.
Mate, you know we're really good friends. I think the world of you. We don't have to say all of that shit again. At the end of the day, this ain't a circle jerk, but you know how I feel about you, man.
Dude, I love you to bits, and I'm inspired by your story of resilience and the dedication that you have in your business, man. And I wish you and Kaylee, your wife, I wish you very best. I wish you the very best with everything going forwards. You're doing great, and I look forward to visiting you and sharing a whiskey again very soon.
Absolute same to you, man. We got to do this again as soon as possible.
Absolutely. I have one final question, and it's a really important one.
Okay.
Have you enjoyed yourself?
Nah, it's been fucking shit.
I knew it.
Come on, man. We've answered that like 10 times. Yes, this has been great. This has been absolutely awesome. There's nothing better to try and find your place in the world with people you can trust and bounce off. There's nothing better than discussing the difficulties of life and the good side of life with people who only want the best for you. And for that, I've got nothing but appreciation, Paul.
Thank you, man. And how can our listeners support you?
Fucked if I know. Who gets to make a terrible, regrettable decision through us? That would be great.
Guys, I am putting the link to Masamune Tattoos in the link description, so please check that out. Gary, thank you so much for being here, bud. It really means a lot. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure, mate. We'll speak up soon, okay?
Absolutely.
Nice one.
Ladies and gentlemen, I say this each episode, but it rings true now more than ever. Life is so fucking short, and we spend so much time worrying and doubting the decisions that we have made. But know that we are all working in the dark. There are no guidelines to life. There are no guidebooks. All you have to do is treat yourself and others well, and enjoy the time that you spend on this planet. There is only one of you, so get out there and hold your head high, because you are a fucking legend. And until next time, stay safe, stay positive, and enjoy a nice cold Johnny Walker.
Haha! Nice.
Can I?
Nice. I was going to take the piss right up until that moment there.
What were you going to say?
Fucking Jerry's final thoughts there.